Let's call the meeting to order. Monday, May 7, 2007. This evening we'll have the invocation by Reverend Clinton Terry from the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church of Homestead, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by the Police Explorers and Councilman Hodge. Would you all please stand? Play, Pastor.
Let us bow our heads. Eternal God, our Father, we come to give you reverence for all of the good things that you've done for our nation and to this world. We come, O God, and thank you for life, health, and strength. We pray your divine blessing upon this nation. We pray, O God, for our young men and women in armed forces all over the world who are fighting for freedom for our country. Put your loving arms of protection around them, O God, and protect them through all seen and unseen danger. We pray, O God, for the elected officials of this great city, that, Heavenly Father, that they will have the wisdom and the knowledge to do the business of the city for all citizens. We pray, O God, for those that have not, especially the Homestead Soup Kitchen. We pray, O God, that a blessing will be given, that they be able to continue to feed the hungry, for we know hunger does not discriminate. We pray, Heavenly Father, that you bless everyone here under the sound of my voice. And Lord, we pray for the elected officials in Washington and all over the state and country. Lord God, that they would do the work and represent the people of this great country, that we could live together, worship together, pray together, break bread together. And Father God, we do honor you tonight. And we do thank you for all of your blessings. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Please join me as we honor our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Right, face. March.
You may be seated. God, and get a better chair. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Warren?
Here.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Here.
Councilwoman Bell? Here. Councilwoman Garner? Here. Councilman Hodge?
Here.
Councilman Porter?
Here.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Here.
Additions, deletions, deferrals?
Yes, Mayor, we have two additions to the agenda.
Right. The first one is the termination on the EFBD. That'll be heard as
To the legislative.
Pardon?
We're going to move that to the legislative matter for Councilman.
Heard under resolutions, and the other item, which is the senior tax exemption, which would be an item under first reading. You can move to accept and add those to the agenda, please.
Offer motion, Mayor.
Offered by Mr. Hodge to accept, second by Ms. Bell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. On the special presentation, Homestead Soup Kitchen presentation, we're honored to have this evening Mr. Bob Jensen and to make a presentation.
I'm Bob Jensen, a member of the Board of Directors of Homestead Soup Kitchen, and with me is Dan Carter, The soup kitchen has been serving the hungry in the Homestead area for the last 23 years. We started off with sandwiches at the Legion, moved to First Presbyterian, acquired our own building thanks to the efforts of Joe Mitchell and Bill Losner, and became dependent upon United Way for our funding about that time. We have operated solely with volunteers. We have no paid staff. We've never had any paid staff. A lot of our services are provided to us pro bono. Our accounting firm, recently we had a $1,500 bill to examine our septic tank. A local business took care of that for us. Last May, we failed to qualify for renewal of the United Way funding, and since then we've been limping along. United Way did find a donor, a $10,000 donor, and we've been kind of limping along since last May, and in February we did not have enough money to pay our bills. Our insurance bill came due. We had to do away with windstorm insurance. We have now just liability and fire, and we've been out in the business community soliciting assistance. I'm going to ask Dan to share with you some of the things we've done and some of the successes we've had.
Okay, my name is Dan Carter. I just wanted to share that in February I was added to the board of the soup kitchen along with two other people, and that would be Pat Mellerson and Yvette Doherty. So these are three business people that have been added to the board to try to help give direction and work towards meeting the needs that need to be met. One of the main things we've been doing is trying to create awareness. The South Day News Leader's out on March 13th. There was an article presenting the needs of the soup kitchen. There was a follow-up letter to the editor on March 23rd. And since there's been a couple of photo opportunities with two of the local banks that have made presentations of checks in donation to the soup kitchen. And then more recently, just in this last Sunday, was an article in the neighbor section of the Miami Herald outlining the need for funding and community support with the soup kitchen. So all these things just try to help create awareness among the large population that we cannot do individually. We're grateful for that. Also, we've been in contact with all of the banks in the area, not just the local banks that are based here, but also banks that have branches here that are based elsewhere. And all of the local banks have made commitments or even given us checks to support this work. And we're still waiting to hear from those that are based out of the area. And we've also been in touch with other businesses. There was a letter, thank yous to the city manager, that went out to the local builders. We've also contacted most of the car dealers, and we've contacted Walmart, and we will be getting, I'm sure, some assistance from these people. In addition to that, the Chamber of Commerce sent out a blast fax to all the businesses in the city, and that's a copy that I had put on the, in front before you for you to see what's been done in that regard. We hope to have that printed up and also use to place in wherever we may be able to create awareness among people and try to get some support from general individuals as well as businesses. We've also been in contact with several foundations trying to get some support, and these things are slow. Some of them already created their funding and for the full year, and we have to wait until the fall to reapply. We've met with the Homestead Police Department. We've met with the chief and senior staff twice, and they've been very supportive, and we think that there's going to be some things that they'll be able to help us with. And in the meantime, they had pointed us in the direction of some other places to try to get some funds. Not all of them are able to assist us. They had suggested the community redevelopment, and we've contacted Rich Stouts, and that's not doable. And also we're going to be looking to contact the empowerment zones, the Alliance for Human Services, and also it was highlighted that with United Way, if individuals designate their gift to United Way, that it goes directly to the charity that they designate. And I think this is, again, something that we just need to create awareness in the general public when they do this funding for United Way and do their pledges, that they, just keep us in mind.
We feed between 200 and 300 people a day. We never ask why they're there. We feed them for about $1.25 a day, which is a small amount, and we've been depending upon farm share. But according to the newspaper, farm share's funding has been cut dramatically, and the folks that go down to pick up food say that the shelves are pretty bare. So we're having a tough time. We believe we provide an essential service that every community should provide. We feed men, women, and children. The perception may be that it's only older men, but we see a lot of children, we see a lot of families, and we see people who have a temporary need. It's not a lifelong need. Dad may lose his job, and they come for 2 weeks or 2 days or whatever, and then we don't see them again, but we always have a crowd. So I would ask that you look to support us as best you can. We are big utility users. We use about $700 worth of electricity, $200 worth of propane. We've cut what little cutting we can do on expenses we've done, so we just need help, or we're going to be closing the doors. And the police have told us that that is the last thing that they would like for us to do. So we probably have enough money to make it through to the end of May, and that's it. I would ask that our letter requested $1,800 a month, which is about twice what our utility cost is. We do have to buy some foodstuffs. We're making arrangements to a local store has offered to do all of our purchases at wholesale. So we've done everything we can to really shave down expenses, but they were not very high to begin with. Thank you.
I just might add that we've also been getting support from some of the local civic organizations, and there's a couple of the churches in town that have made commitments on a regular basis, and we even got commitments from churches that have not been but will be giving us support as well. Thank you.
Ms. Waldman?
Can I address you just for a second at the podium? Thank you. Well, you know how I feel about the soup kitchen. I mean, I worked there at the Presbyterian Church. I volunteered my time cooking for years while my little boy was in school, and the soup kitchen is something that we really, really need. The Little Angel Foundation, we've always supported the soup kitchen, and we will continue to do so, and I'll get with you later this week so that we can see what we can do there. I just want to tell you that these gentlemen are telling you the truth. I mean, the Angels and the American Businesswomen Association, we go down there every Christmas, we give out gifts, and there are children there. And it's not the same people over and over and over, wouldn't you agree? I mean, maybe they see them for 2 or 3 weeks. Some you're going to see always. But the majority of the people there are people that pass through their doors when they have hard times, and they're there maybe 2 to 3 weeks, and then they, their fate changes and they move on. So it's not like you're just adopting a family for life.
Exactly.
And I think that's a misconception, and I just want to make sure that everybody realizes that this is not, this is something that we cannot lose. Mayor, I don't know if this is possible, but I know that we service you with utilities. But let me preface, before I say what I'm going to say, I've been in contact with United Way as well. And we know that within, isn't it 2 years, that there's a 2 years, that there's a great possibility that we'll be back on their funding schedule. Right. So we have 2 years that we have to realize that this community has a problem. I'm hoping that Florida City steps up to the plate. undoes something, and I think that we as a delegation from the Homestead Council should approach Florida City as well. The mayor, I would really like to see us waive their utility bills for 2 years. This is a service that we can't do without, and I sit down with Bob and we went over the budget line by line, and there's nothing that is skimmed off the top. I mean, that's down to bare bones minimum, and they're all volunteers. So it's just a suggestion. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's ever been done before, but certainly we need to be humanitarians, and we need to do something.
Any other comments, Mr. Vice Chair?
A question. Bob, just for perspective and to help share this, your total monthly budget is about what?
$4,000.
$4,000 a month to feed to serve a couple of thousand meals is a big bang for the buck, certainly. I know you've had a campaign going. Do you have some pretty strong commitments for ongoing funding, or has most of what you accomplished just been in terms of lump sum to get you over this hurdle?
It's been lump sum, and those funds will run out at the end of this month, early next month. We do have two continuing contributions from churches, but they're small.
Well, I guess
like 1/20th of our budget.
The point of my question was, and I would certainly support, however the city can find a way to help fund the soup kitchen, but where will the shortfall come from over the next couple of years?
Well, we're hoping for help both from you and from Florida City. We've applied to a lot of foundations and have not been successful. We just are going to keep stretching out and looking for other sources. But in the meantime, we have to really need to keep the doors open. At the end of the 2 years, I'm convinced that we're going to do exactly what United Way would like, and that's feed every day, hire a professional executive director and secretary, and that they'll fund the whole works. But we have to get to that 2-year mark. I've learned from the appeals process that when they say they're going to do something or not do something, that's exactly the way it's going to be. They've got the money, and they pretty well dictate how it's going to be used. Mm-hmm. And they would rather that we operate on a larger scale with larger funding for them than continue at the level we're at, which means we will probably end up with a $250,000 budget, not a $50,000 budget.
But they'll pay for that.
Kind of an interesting perspective, though, and I know I guess your days vary from maybe 3 to 4 days a week.
3.
That, in lieu of being able to feed every day, the United Way's position is kind of, well, it's going to be all or nothing. But that's not the battle we're going to fight here.
I wouldn't want to say that. Yeah.
All right. Well, Mr. Mayor, I would ask the manager then, well, if he were in his chair, I would ask the manager that if this council were to give some direction, how would that be accomplished? Does the manager have some discretion in budgeted funds that are in existence now to do that? Would we need to do a new budget amendment resolution?
We got a contingency. Marlene, we have a contingency in the budget. I don't think we've exhausted that, so that could be a potential possibility.
That's correct, Mayor and Council. We could take it out of contingency. Another avenue we could also pursue is, the employees here donated to United Way. Those monies have already been transferred to United Way, but perhaps we could make a special appeal that some of those funds could be directed to the soup kitchen. The only disadvantage is when you donate to United Way, they match the funds, for agencies that are part of the United Way. So it would not be a match fund that would go to the soup kitchen.
And
that's just a question we could possibly ask.
What amount did we collect? The city?
$8,500.
Mr. Mayor, while we were visiting the police chief and his senior staff, they actually called United Way to see if they could accomplish that. and were told that they could not.
Right.
You know,
It had to be up front.
Yeah, that it was too late.
Yeah.
That can only be done at the time the pledges are made.
And just so you know, I've contacted the insurance group, and they want you to come and talk at their campaign, so, for next year, but that's not helping this year.
Now, I should say that we did get our insurance without commission, thanks to Councilwoman Waldman. Thank you for that.
It would seem, though, that if we were inclined to do so, as in so many other issues, that since we're halfway through, as in light of the fact that we're halfway through this budget year, that this pledge could be retroactive to October 1, so that we're not doing partial funding and allows them to put a nest egg away, if you will, and be able to carry them until some of those other pledges and other funding sources come through. So, you know, if it would be appropriate to do so, I would move that the city adopt support of the soup kitchen at the rate of $1,800 a month, retroactive to October 1st, 2006. For this budget year is I think all we can appropriately address at this point.
If that's the intention of the council, I think there should be an agreement between the city and the soup kitchen that provides for the funding, provides for, we had this issue dealing with, you know, a review of financial records and other things, and that should be part of the agreement. And so if that's the wish of the council, I think we should bring an agreement back to you at your next meeting that would provide for that funding.
But we've got those in the can. We do it with many other organizations, similar organizations where we can do that.
Right, but I think doing it as a formal agreement would sort of set forth the parameters, and that way it would be in place and would provide for the appropriate safeguards.
Would retroactivity be available to us?
Yes.
Okay. I would second that.
Been properly moved by the Vice Mayor, second by Mr. Hodge, and I would ask too that the Finance Committee take a look at it to make sure there's sufficient funds in the contingency to...
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that, Mayor. I think that we do, before we go forward, we do need to take a look at the Finance Committee. We need to take a look at it with the Finance Department and see what is available in the contingency to be able to handle this, especially since we're talking retroactive. And you know, we know how valuable the soup kitchen is. But the goal of any type of nonprofit organization like the Soup Kitchen or any other nonprofit is to be self-sustaining. And so anything that would be help at this point has to be a springboard to help them get on their feet, and not a long time. And I know Bob understands that, because there are so many, and I want to be clear, there are many, many very, very worthwhile not-for-profit organizations in the city of Homestead. So we must be very cautious and tread very, very carefully that we're not opening up a Pandora's box that everyone's going to come to us now and say, well, you gave to the soup kitchen, what about our organization? This is what we're helping these kids over here and these kids over here. So anything that we do, and I understand the value of the soup kitchen. We need to go to Florida City, because I know at least 50% of those being helped are from Florida City as well, and we need to kick in together. Florida City and Homestead needs to kick in together, but it must be a springboard to help the soup kitchen get off of its feet so it can be self-sustaining and self-supporting.
We have gone to Florida City, and we have gotten kind of an interim response, and we've then responded to that, so that's happening also.
Okay, thank you. And I think that we should take a look at it with the Finance Department and then bring a recommendation back from the Finance Department back to this council, Mayor.
Mayor, one question before you.
Mr. Porter?
The motion does not include some sort of a waiving of fees of utilities. It only includes a cash advance, so we don't waive fees, because I don't think we can waive fees.
No, but I would think by agreement we could provide that some safeguard that the utilities are paid out of that subsidy, if you will.
Perfect. No, I just want to make sure there wasn't both. We're talking about one or
Do we have the ability, Mr. Manager and Ms. Bell, to maybe have the Finance Committee do the analysis and have that brought forward at the same time as a proposed agreement? Maybe the numbers need to be adjusted downward based upon that, but let's at least have them run on a dual track.
Okay, we'll look at that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments?
I just asked that you could do it as soon as possible, because he's not kidding. At the end of May, we're in trouble.
If needed, we can call a special call meeting, get it done, so that won't be a problem. As soon as we get the information, Bob, we'll if I need to call a special call, I will, to speed it up and make sure you all have the resources before the month's out.
Thank you.
No other questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Councilman Hodge, a $40,000 check presentation to We Care Southgate, Inc.
Wow. Excellent. Thank you. We just got to talking about the soup kitchen, and there's so many worthwhile organizations in our community that needs every bit of support that we can give it. And I won't be long, but I really want to say this. I thought about this throughout the day, and I thought about a lesson that I learned as a child. And my mom was really strict on me. She wouldn't let me go and spend the night with friends and things like that. I really had to stay at home all the time. And one of my best friends in elementary school, mom was an evangelist, and somehow she convinced my mom to let me go and spend the night with her son. And ended up staying the whole weekend. And Sunday afternoon, she brought me back, and she was bragging on how well I was behaved, and I even helped clean up the room, and she was just bragging on it. So I really felt good about myself. And as soon as she left, my mom said, "Go get the belt." And I'm like, "For what? She just got through bragging on me." And she was like, "You go over somebody else's house and you clean up, and I have to make you clean up here at home." So needless to say, the lesson that I learned from that was charity begins at home. And I remember that so vivid, every lick. I remember that. And I say that to make this point. There's so many deserving, organizations out there, but charity begins at home, and we really have to, extend our hand right here in our community and serve our community and help where we can help with our soup kitchen, with We Care, You Plus Me, all the great organizations that are out there. We really need to stick in our hands and support. And I'm here for the We Care and what they do. We Care basically, we offer some grant dollars to help them out with matching funds that they achieve as well. And for individuals who are unable to pay their electric bill, they go through a process, and Kamitra Driver here either grants or denied based on the qualifications to help them with their utility bill. And also the city has in place where you can actually donate additional dollars on your utility bill that can go toward that effort. And I really thought about this earlier today, and I realized that if 25% of our community gave $1 extra on their utility bill, it would equate in the neighborhood of $4,500 to $5,000 a month. If you times that times 12, you would be in the neighborhood of about $60,000. Now tonight we're here to give $40,000. So next year I hope to be standing here giving $100,000 because of that 25% of the community that stood up and said, "I want to help with my additional dollar on the bill." $1, and we can do that, and we can put things in place that way that we can help our community and really have that charity to begin at home. And with that said, I want to present. Make sure I got that right. Kamitra with this big check. This one probably would bounce for $40,000.
I just want to say thank you to the City of Homestead. This is our third year with this program, and as Councilman Hodge stated, the funds go to help low-income families maintain their lights. We're talking about individuals that are facing disconnection. We have a stringent application process where we try to make sure it's those that have an extreme emergency before we assist them. Last year, we got $20,000 from the city, and we served just over 200 individuals, and the money lasted us for about 2.5 months. So this year, we're excited. We can double the number of grants that we can provide, and maybe it'll last us maybe 4 or 5 months this year. But we have a lot of individuals that are struggling, trying to make ends meet, and with the housing boom that's going on here, a lot of our families just unfortunately can't afford to pay their light bills because of a crisis. And maybe they lost their job, maybe mom or dad had a car accident and they had to go into the hospital. Whatever the emergency is, that's how we determine who we will assist. So we are delighted that we are able to serve the neediest of our population, and we are so thankful for the City of Homestead for staying behind us and supporting us. We really, really appreciate you all. We Care does not get a dime of this money. All $40,000 goes towards the grants. We cover the administrative costs, our staff time, the printing of the vouchers that we use, making photocopies, all of that we cover in-house. So none of the $40,000 stays within We Care's bank account. So we're so delighted that we're able to offer that service to the community. So again, thank you, Mayor, Council, men and women. Thank you so much. We appreciate you all, and look forward to that $100,000 next year. Thanks.
Again, just keep it on your minds. Charity begins at home, and let's do a good job in building this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge, and again, thank you, Kamitra, and the fine work that you and your organization continue to do in the City of Homestead. We appreciate what you're doing. Police Office Assistant Trust presentation to the Homestead Police Department for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, Councilman Porter.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim Loftus. I am an Assistant Director for Investigative Services with the Miami-Dade Police Department. I'm also the President of the Police Officer Assistance Trust, and if you'll permit me, I want to talk about your two police departments, if I could. Number one is the professional, and number two is the charitable. I've had the opportunity to work with your police department since 1992 in the aftermath of Hurricane Andrew in several different capacities. And I can tell you there's none better. That may sound cliche, but I'll tell you again, there's none better. I've worked with them in major investigations, when there have been homicides in the city, when police officers have been involved in shootings, and when a police officer was shot. There's none more responsive, intelligent, and caring. They're the best. The charitable side. The charitable side, I have to tell you, as a board member, as the president of POAT, we're an organization that's been in effect since 1989. We exist to help police officers and their families in times of catastrophic need. This department has been with us since the ground floor. This department is, for the lack of a better term, the canary in the coal mine. How things go here is how this charity goes. How money gets raised here is how money gets raised countywide. I can tell you very proudly that we've been able to raise this charity $5 million and distribute $5 million since 1989. Much of it on the backs of the people you see here. Whether it's the police memorial that we recently built, where a lot of these folks were out there with picks and shovels, and it pains me greatly to tell you, as a little bit of a sidebar, that the most squared away, the best police explorer post, including those from Miami-Dade County, was the Homestead Police Explorer post. They made a tremendous impression on everyone who was there. They really did. As I said, I mentioned Scott Kennedy sits on the board with me. He has a great say-so on how we raise money and how we spend money, and we try to do it intelligently and frugally.
A little example of money making. Recently, we were involved in a charitable process for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. There was a walk out at the Metro Zoo. The law enforcement team from the Police Officer Assistance Trust raised over $100,000. Your department raised over $43,000 of that $100,000. I'm just smart enough to know that if it's the Homestead Police Department, the money they're raising is from the residents of Homestead. And I'd like to thank you all for that. That's a big giving for a relatively small area, and we really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And the last thing is, you look around here, I mean, there are a lot of folks in the police department here, but they just don't show up to pick up certificates and plaques. They really do show up to pick up picks and shovels and spread sod and do all those things that are very important to our existence. They've always done it. I hope they always will. And with your good graces, I'd just like to present this photograph to them, if I could. To the Chief, this is a photograph of our newly completed police memorial site in Tropical Park. And thank you very much.
First of all, I'm caught off guard, because I had no idea he was going to come in and give a presentation, I guess to me, from my department, and I appreciate that. Assistant Director Loftus, just to let you know, him and I go back a long ways, and he spoke about what he did for us when he was back as a major, I believe. We worked well together, and tonight I have to definitely commend him to come down in his position as assistant director of Miami-Dade Police Department, to come down here to give us this particular award. Normally, a guy in his position, in his status, wouldn't come down to do that if he didn't think it was the right thing to do. In this case, I think he did, and I want to commend him for coming down and doing it, because a lot of times, most of the chiefs and the assistant chiefs, they usually send someone else down to take care of the smaller things for them. In this case, I think that he knows the magnitude of what Homestead did, and he knows it's a pretty large thing, and he wanted to come down himself and do that, and we appreciate it. And I want to thank him for coming down from the city of Homestead and also from the citizens.
Drive through here again.
Well, that part may be true too, but no, just kidding. He's always been a big help to us, even though we go back many, many years. But again, all the things, all the hard work and everything that was done is through Major Kennedy and Major Villalonga and all the Homestead officers that participated in that event that day to raise that money. I cannot take the credit. I'm just the police chief. My guys did all the work, and I got to give them all the credit and let them know that I really appreciate it, because what they do make not only me look good, make the city look good, and also the people live in Homestead. So again, thank you. I really appreciate it, and we'll do it again next year.
I just want to ask the guys with the camera to pan across and show the explorers and all the officers around the back of the building to the people that are at home, and look at this room is full of officers and explorers. These are the ones that we're talking about tonight.
These guys that worked so hard over the years, and that hot sun out there, they're backstroking on me right now, but these guys are the ones that did the work. And again, appreciate it. Thank you all very much. And again, the Homestead Police Department, along with Metro Dade Police Department, really made the entire South End look good tonight. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
from the support, you might as well stay up there. The next on the agenda is the Officer of the Month for February 2007, the K-9 Officer Anthony Green.
Captain Fogarty, you're supposed to already be working your way up here, sir.
There's Anthony. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, City Council, Mr. City Manager, I'm Captain Tom Foglia. You've met the administration, and this is our Officer of the Month, February, K-9 Officer Anthony Green. Anthony's been with our department for over 13 years. 8 years of his time here, he's been a K-9 officer. He was nominated for Officer of the Month for February by his Sergeant Marie Kent. And I'd like to paraphrase some of the comments she made about him on the type of officer that he is. He monitors the radio closely and assists other units responding by setting perimeters and informing the responding officers of directions the subjects may flee. He takes a leadership role, directs officers to the necessary areas while painting a mental picture to assist the officers as they respond. He works day shift, and so does most of the administration, and we hear Anthony on the radio. Whenever there's an in-progress call, Anthony is always on top of it, and he's the one who sets where the officers go to try to catch the bad guys. Being a K-9 officer, he knows where he wants the officers so he can conduct his searches in a proper manner. For the month, he had 129 calls for service. 50 of those calls, he was the primary unit. He had 31 self-initiated calls, and he wrote 16 reports. He responded to 28 burglar alarms and conducted 10 building searches, 3 tracking searches with his K-9 partner, Rex. He handles burglar alarm calls pretty much by himself. If there's a situation where an officer needs to go into a house, he's the one that goes in. If a bad guy's hiding out in the woods, he's the guy that goes in with his dog, and the officers are on the perimeter. He may take one officer with him from a safety standpoint. So you can see he does one heck of a job, and besides doing all that, he's a field training officer and trains all of our rookies. So it's with great pleasure he receives Officer of the Month for February 2007.
I get to do the nice things because as you know, the business community really steps up to the plate and honors these officers for their services by donating gifts in cash or some sort of gift. And tonight we have for Officer Green, Awards Inc. has donated the plaque. The City Attorney's Office has donated $100 cash. First National Bank of South Florida is a $50 savings bond. Community Bank of South Florida is a $50 savings bond. Ferguson's Jewelry is a $75 gift certificate. Ruby Tuesdays is a $25 gift certificate. Global Technologies Partners is a $50 check. Logos on Old Dixie Highway is a $50 gift certificate. Dale Blake from Blake Chevrolet is a $300 value detail oil and lube. Captain Car Wash is a $20 value free car wash. Mita Jensen is 2 memberships to Homestead Community Concerts, and Homestead Miami Speedway donates $100 to go to the officers for the gratitude in which they do for us on a day-to-day basis. And Officer Green has been, in some really tough times, and it wasn't that long ago, and here we are, rebounded to top of the list again, and it goes to show. Not only do we know what's going on in our community, but you have people from outside, Chief, that see what's going on in this community as well, just by the gentleman that just spoke to us. So, Officer Green, on behalf of the Mayor and the City Council and the City, we would like to present you as K-9 Officer Anthony Green for being selected Officer of the Month for February 2007. Congratulations very much.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to make a real brief comment that I'm just a small part of the puzzle and a small piece of the puzzle, and I'd like to recognize the command staff and the officers and detectives. We all work together as a team, and
I don't think any one person or one individual is going to be able to be recognized without all their efforts put together in a combined effort. So I'd like to thank all of them, and I'd like to thank the council and chief majors and captains. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Also, for all the new explorers out there that have, I guess, ambition or want to be a police officer in the city of Homestead, Anthony Green, 13 years ago, was the police explorer, and today he's officer of the month. So if you're looking to a better career, or you're looking to get ahead and get in police work, all you have to do is just get a hold of this guy here. He'll tell you how to make it happen. So again, thank you all. Anthony is a dynamite officer. He's done a good job for us, and we're glad to have him. He's definitely a good K-9 guy. Thank you very much.
All the kids running up to him now. Hey, how did you do that? Hey, what you do?
Pick up the room,
It's already 8 o'clock. It's almost 8 o'clock.
I'm shocked you're not on the presentation.
My kids said you can't do it.
Annie used to do it to me, and I didn't like it any more than you did. Go back.
Next on the agenda is the presentation to the Stingers girls softball traveling team. Councilwoman Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing pleases me more than to recognize a very successful softball team. And when we had the opening ceremonies for baseball and softball, I ran into Sergeant Marie Kent, and we were talking. She began telling me about the girls' team, and I said, we need to recognize this extraordinary, outstanding team at a council meeting. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of something about them, and Sergeant Kent is right back there. Say, wave, Marie. She's the reason that we're having this today. Thank you. The Stingers girls softball traveling team was established to provide a vehicle for the development of young female athletes under the age of 14 who have demonstrated ability in the game of softball. The program improves their individual skills, teaches good sportsmanship, forms friendships, builds self-esteem, and helps girls gain leadership qualities. Their team goals have certainly been met as the girls exhibited outstanding skill and championship teamwork this season and were the tournament champions, first place in the following 3 tournaments, not 1, not 2, but 3. They were first place in the USSA Winter National Tournament. Yes, I said national tournament. They were first place in the West Boca March Madness Tournament, and they were first place in the Homestead Iron Woman one-day tournament. So I'm going to recognize the coaches as well as the players. Head coach John Spicer, come up. Coach Kevin Kent. We have a certificate for everyone. Coach Tom Bogards. And Coach Kevin Laverne. And now the players, and forgive me if I butcher a name or two. It's Rosemary Salguero, Sarah Laverne, Megan Lee, Allie Cruz, Maria Contreras, Kristen Kent, Put your hand up, girls. Taylor Spicer. Vanessa Linero. Lindsay Menendez. Kelsey Bogards. And Dominique Grossman. And let's give these girls a hand. They are outstanding. There you go. The coach.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bell. Appreciate it very much. Coaches are a little too chicken to talk, so they stuck me with the details on that. Two of our players are absent, but these young ladies are outstanding softball players. A couple of years ago when I first met Coach John, I was coaching with the Falcons, and Coach Tom as well. I had met Coach Kevin at that time and realized that what outstanding players these girls were when I first saw them. My wife Marie, most of y'all don't recognize me, but I'm a lieutenant with the police department as well, if you don't recognize me already. We sat around during the Falcons tournaments and all these young ladies as they played. And I think it was probably one of the biggest wishes that I ever had that my daughter played with this team. And as a result of this coaching staff, you heard what the results were from the Disney Fast Pitch Tournament up on President's Day, where they took their national tournament, and the two others that were mentioned. And what's most important now coming up to us is in July, we have a 8-day World Series tournament that we're going to be playing in Panama City. Each of these young ladies are going to be turning around raising their own fees. They don't get handed anything. They go out and work for their money. The parents go out and hustle money best they possibly can by either selling candy, different items, so on and so forth. And you're looking at probably over $2,000 per child to go through this trip just to go up there and play for this 8-day tournament. But these girls are about a determined group of young ladies that I've ever seen in my life. Just to watch them play just amazes me still today, as long as I've been around softball. Just a personal thanks to Coach Kevin, Coach Tom, Coach John for all that you do for these girls. Anybody that knows anything about female athletics knows that they're always taking second somewhere. Everybody's overlooking them. I know the council is always at opening day. City Manager Ivy's always there opening day to support us. This past year we went to almost took states. We were one game away from taking states to go to nationals in the Little League division as well, and these girls will have a never say die attitude. So just saying that, I want to thank the mayor and council for all your support. Thank you, Councilwoman Bell, for your time and effort in letting these girls be recognized somewhat. Just a shameless plug. Also, I forgot to mention my favorite team mom, Sylvia. Please, Lord, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't live. Thank you, Sylvia. We'd be dead without you, girl, I tell you right now. But just a shameless plug on this tournament that's coming up. Please, if you have a business that wants to contribute, please make the time to contact us. We're close by. We'll be glad to take your money to help these girls out and get them up there so they can play this long tournament during the summer, heat of summer. They turn around and they'll play 4 or 5 games on these, like this Homestead one. They'll turn around and do 5 games back-to-back in the hot sun during the summer and never say quit once. So they're an amazing bunch of athletes. Ladies, nice job. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Let's give them one more round of applause.
And let me recognize school board member Evelyn Greer, who's talking in the back. Welcome. Ms. Bell, you're going to deal with the before Ms. Greer, me mentoring?
Mackenzie, I believe, next. On the agenda, is it you plus me next?
Yes, the U Plus Mentoring next.
Yes. I'd like to bring up the U Plus Me Mentoring Program with Mackenzie Moore and please say a word or two and give your presentation. I ran into Mackenzie and we were discussing the program, and I said, you know, the public needs to know a little bit more about what's going on, and that is the best way to get involvement is to actually inform the community on what's happening, what type of work you're doing with the youth in the city of Homestead. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you, Councilwoman Bell, for extending the invitation. Greetings to the mayor. Thank you for your support of our program, and also to the city council. I bring you greetings on behalf of the Southeast Dade Ministerial Alliance, which is our governing body. Our president is to the right of me, Reverend Clinton Terry of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, and in his absence, I also bring greetings to you from Mr. Lorenzo M. Layler Jr., who is our project director. What You Plus Me Mentoring Project is, we are a mentoring program not unlike some that you may have heard of, such as the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, Take Stock in Children, and what have you, but we approach a specific target group. That is children of incarcerated parents between the ages of 4 and 17 that live in South Miami-Dade County. That our target area extends from Florida City to Richmond Heights, and we are concentrated here in the city of Homestead because this is our home base. We have office space at the Pfeiffer Williams Center, which is on 4th Street in the heart of our community, and a major part of this problem is in the city of Homestead. We knew when we began this program 3 years ago that in that target area there were at least 500 children on any given day that meet that criteria, that is having an incarcerated parent. But we also know that through positive intervention, we can reverse the cycle of incarceration that is crippling these families. We know that 75% of these children without positive intervention will grow up to become incarcerated themselves. We are proud to say that we are working towards making a dent in this issue. We at present have more than 60 residents of the city of Homestead that are registered with us as active mentors, and we have identified more than 80 children within the city of Homestead that meet the criteria and have been matched in sustained mentor relationships. But we can do more, and we are pushing forward towards that. We are approaching the beginning of another funding cycle, and we are looking forward to doing some creative initiatives in order to better address the problem. I presented a packet to each member of the city council and also the mayor. In that packet is a letter. I want to let you all know what it is all about. It's a letter from the mayor of the city of St. Petersburg, who is the chairman of the governor's municipal mentoring initiative. Now, our previous governor, Governor Bush, in his wisdom, started a mentoring initiative which allows state employees an hour of leave time for every hour that they volunteer in the community, particularly in the area of mentoring. And the Municipal Mentoring Initiative encourages municipalities within the state of Florida to adopt that initiative as an ordinance within their cities. There are presently more than, I believe, 30 cities within the state of Florida that have adopted that initiative. And I'm encouraging the city of Homestead to be the first in our target area to adopt that initiative as an ordinance. As I said, we have at present more than 60 residents of the city of Homestead that are active mentors, but we could certainly do better than that and improve the outcomes, the future outcomes for our children. Thank you.
I would just like to add to that is that I am a mentor. I mentor 2 teenage boys. So it is important that we all get involved. These children have parents who are in jail. They don't have any role model to look up to. So we go out, we take these kids on field trips, we mentor them with their homework, we teach them values, we take them to church, we work with them in whatever field that we can to help them live a better life. So we are asking that everyone be a mentor. One child, one day, 1 hour for 1 year. That's all, 1 hour a week that we ask that you give to one child, 1 hour. And I guarantee you, you will be fulfilled knowing that this child had someone that cared for them for that 1 hour. Thank you very much.
Pastor Terry?
Yes, ma'am.
When I've spoken with people who are mentors and have mentored, I hear over and over again that they go in to mentor with the idea that they are going to help this child. They are going to really do the best they can for this child, and they end up saying, this child was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it ends up totally flipping, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you here, so we can encourage people in the community to help out with the U+V mentoring program and go, and this is kind of where the rubber meets the road as far as helping kids. And so we also, with the City's Education Committee, have a similar program, but that's different, whereas we go right into the schools. This is so valuable. This is after school, this is homework help, this is everything help. And it's very, very important, and I want to thank you for what you do.
Thank you. It's very rewarding.
And thank you for coming tonight.
Yes.
And Pastor Terry, I'm hoping that Councilwoman Bell will follow up with the resolution, so we will be the first city to adopt it. I'd be more than happy to sign it. I want to thank you and the board and that whole staff over at FICA Williams for what you're doing in the community. And let me also publicly say that I'd like to join. I want to be a mentor.
Amen.
So I need whatever I need to do to fill out the form or what have you.
Sign them up.
Sign me up.
I wish I put an application in that folder.
That's what you should have done. I'll follow through my commitment. I would really like to be a part of it.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is our good friend, Councilwoman Bell. Ms. Greer?
Yes, I would like to announce our school board member, Ms. Evelyn Greer. She would please come front and give us her update, as she does so well. Thank you. Good to see you, Evelyn.
Thank you very much. It really is a pleasure to see all of you. I talk to each of you individually, but it's great to come here and make a presentation to all of you and, of course, to the city as to what's going on in the school system. When I ran 3 years ago, the real crisis in our district, and especially in this part of the city, this part of the county, was overcrowding, and then also overcrowding. So I think the first report has got to be on what's happening in the schools in terms of overcrowding. The school system in the school year 03-04, so that's 3 years ago, was in a tremendous crisis. And some areas obviously worse than others. The areas that were growing very rapidly up in Aventura, in this area, down south, and in West Kendall were just bursting at the seams. So we started out the school year with not only an overcrowding in schools as they were, what we would consider in Dade County to be overcrowding, but we also were faced with the implementation of the class size reduction amendment. Class size reduction amendment says that by 2010, there is not going to be a classroom in this county where there are more than 18 children K through 3, 22 children 4 through 8, 25 children 9 through 12. That's a constitutional amendment, and we started out the school year 03-04 knowing that we had to meet that constitutional amendment in only 5 years. So what happened? Dr. Rudy Crew, the new superintendent, came in July 2004. He commissioned a study of the entire county as to where was the overcrowding, where was undercrowding, where did new schools belong, where did the expansion of existing schools belong. And he developed a comprehensive plan for the entire county such that in 2010 there wouldn't be a single school in the entire district that was overcrowded, taking into consideration the existing condition, class size reduction, and growth patterns as they existed at that time. We located 40 new schools throughout the county. We located 80,000 new seats. Now keep in mind there are 350,000 students in the system, so that was an increase of huge proportions. In the 2004-05 school year, the school system under prior administration had budgeted 5,000 new seats. At that rate, we'd all be grandparents by the time we met glass size reduction. In the year 2004-2005, the school system built 20,000 seats. Now, I don't mean they started 20,000 seats. I mean they finished at the end of the school year 20,000 seats. In the school year 05-06, they finished 18,000 seats. And this year, 06-07, we are on track to finish 20,000 seats. We have built 60,000 seats in this system in 3 years. Where are those seats distributed? Well, I think as I've mentioned to this council once before, I can be an obnoxious broad when I need to be, and approximately 40% of the new seats were allocated to the greater South Dade area. South Dade being described as 152nd Street South. Because I explained to Dr. Crew, who was not familiar with the geography of Miami-Dade County, that the center of the county was North Kendall Drive, not Flagler Street. The demographic center of the county was North Kendall Drive. That means for every seat north, seats south. We will finish this summer 12,000 new seats in the form of modulars. And as you tour around in your districts and in your schools, you know that we have these beautiful hurricane code, fully integrated, air-conditioned, technologically up-to-date modules that we've been placing at the schools. Either a 12-pack or a 24, 1-story or 2, 11 classrooms, and a set of boys and girls bathrooms. They're connected to the main campus, but they allow the school to spread out the students so that each class is smaller. In addition, we will finish this summer 2 brand new schools serving South Dade. A middle school located way out on the edge of the UDB, 197th Street and 292nd Street. That school is going to relieve all the schools on the west side of Homestead, elementary schools that are overcrowding, and bring every one of those schools down to capacity. It's going to be a 4-8, which is an innovative configuration in order to relieve the elementary schools and also staff that school, fill that school. We're opening the new Gould's Elementary School up in Gould's, which will relieve overcrowding and the new developments on the east side of that area. A year from this August, we will open 2 new K-8s serving this community, one at Silver Palm, one at Palm Glade, K-8, 1,600 seats that will relieve every elementary school in this entire area of overcrowding, as well as every middle school in the Homestead area. By the summer of August 08, the opening of school, there will not be one overcrowded school in the entire Homestead area, not one. Now, that's also the result of the market slowing down, of us catching up, of good things coming together. So for the long term in this community, the capacity of all of the schools in this area will be under 95%. Which means there's a space for an art room, a space for an ESOL room, a space for people to meet. They won't be meeting in closets, in auditoriums. Those days are over. So the next real challenge for this district and for this area is, great, congratulations, you have schools. What's going on inside the schools? You know that one of our major complaints down here has been that it is too far to go to the special magnet schools that have been developed downtown. Our kids in Homestead cannot attend the New World School of the Arts, the Design School, the Marine Academy. You've got to be a special kind of kid to get up at 5 o'clock every morning and catch the bus all the way to Metro Rail and all the way downtown. And, ambitious as our kids are, that's very unlikely. So one of the big pushes simultaneously with building new schools has been to bring quality programs to the south end of town so they are accessible to the children. So I want to bring you up to date as to what's actually going on inside the schools. Number one, we are in partnership with the University of Miami That partnership is well progressed to build a test-in math science high school at 152nd Street, just west of the zoo, on a new development that the University of Miami is doing. It's going to be a magnet high school for the top math science students around the county, but obviously located at the Turnpike exit in 152nd Street, it will be very convenient to South Dade. Number 2, we are in conversations with the county to put a School of the Arts on the same property as the Performing Arts Center being built at 216th Street and the Turnpike. Makes all the sense in the world. They've got the facility. It's empty all week. We're going to put a school there to attract the top arts, music, and performing students in the south end of town. Number 3, we are in negotiations, as you may know. We have responded to a request for proposal from Baptist Health Systems to take over the old Homestead Hospital and make it a medical arts high school, to train the nurses, the LPNs, the medical techs, the laboratory, the business people, the social workers, everybody that the medical community needs in this community. If you want to bring high-paying jobs to the community, you need to train the young people to fill the jobs that are going to be here. And that is going to be a job magnet. Baptist is falling all over itself thinking about all those nurses. We're very excited about that. We're waiting for Baptist to respond, but we feel some measure of hope that they, being the great corporate citizen that they are, plug to Baptist, will see fit to put that medical arts high school. It will be a small magnet high school, so it will have the highest motivated kids who want to go to school, learn the medical technologies that they're interested in, and immediately cycle into MDC Homestead for their further training, have internships at Baptist, etc. So that the highly motivated kids will be in this magnet school for the medical arts. West Homestead Middle School has been designated an international baccalaureate program. They are going to cycle kids from West Homestead to South Dade Senior, which will also have an international baccalaureate degree. So a child here in Homestead can start in the 6th grade and go all the way through home schools to get an international baccalaureate as well as an American high school degree. I could go on and on and on, chess, strands, academies, etc. What I want to convey to you here is that Homestead is no longer a sleepy place at the far end of the Turnpike. I think everybody downtown has finally recognized that the red dots for programs have to go all the way down south and track the Turnpike. Enough staff have been down here for meetings, for events, for programs, to see the schools, to understand the community's growing and it needs quality programs in the schools so that we no longer have a situation where there's a grant to fund 20 programs and 18 of them are north of Flagler Street and to our south. Those days are over. I know that we have had some discussions about the EFBD. I don't really want to get into that at this time. I don't want to upset our Councilwoman, Ms. Bell. The only thing I do want to say about that is I think everybody entered into this agreement in great good faith. I really do. I don't think there are any villains in this. And I would ask the council simply to perhaps give it a bit more time for conversations to occur. The school system has committed this money, $34 million, to build a K-8 to serve the east side of Homestead, and we really want to do it. So I would ask you, and you know, especially Linda, you and I are good friends, we've spoken before about this, maybe give it a short breathing spell till your next council meeting to just see if we can't talk a little bit further about the situation. Honestly, we worked so hard for this. The city of Homestead was so proactive about this. I fought tooth and nail for this $34 million, and I'd really like to build a K-8 to serve the growing part of East Homestead. So I'll be happy to take some questions. You know I'm always accessible. I talk to most of you during the year, but I do like to come down and just say hi. If you have any questions, if there are issues that come up, if there are rumors that come up, if there are things that happen that you need me, send me an email, give me a call. It'd be my pleasure to be responsive. Thanks.
Evelyn, let me say that I had an opportunity to manage, and Mr. Smith
Taylor Smith.
Had an opportunity to talk with the superintendent on last week, what day was it? Tuesday.
Last Tuesday.
At 10, I think the meeting was scheduled at 10. What a wonderful conversation. And I think the superintendent realized the importance of proceeding with the commitment, irregardless of the obstacles. He just had this vision that we can do something very special in Homestead. And he too asked for careful consideration on delaying any decision until we have a cooling off period, and give him time and the staff time to bring forward some alternatives. And I left the meeting very encouraged that we are now focusing on what is most important, and that is how we can continue to provide quality education for the young folks in Homestead.
Great.
And that was the focus of the meeting. We didn't talk about who's at fault and who's angry at whom, but what is in the best interest of our young folks at Homestead, and how can we bring the very best to Homestead. And he came up with, just right on the spot, some very innovative ideas on how this could work. And I was going to encourage the council this evening to delay a decision until the superintendent is able to come to the community, because I asked him, once he crystallized his ideas, that he bring forth them to the people of Homestead and let's sit around the table with the council and talk about them, and then we can move forward and then finalize a decision on this ELBD whole issue. So, but I was very encouraged, Evelyn, and you guys got a top-rate superintendent there, and he's on the ball.
Well, I'm obviously thrilled to hear you feel that way, and that that was your takeaway from the meeting. I've certainly expressed the same to him. He, rolls his eyes every time I start talking about South Dade, but that's a good thing because it's on everybody's agenda. I agree with you entirely. I don't want to talk about what happened up until this point. It's really essentially irrelevant. I think we need to look at where we are, how to proceed in a logical way going forward. The school system has now $44 million on the table to build a K-8 to serve the east side of Homestead, and we would very, very much appreciate, given all the work that everybody has done, the people on the EFBD, the consultants, staff, the city, our staff, the county, etc., just have an opportunity to talk a little bit further and see if we can't come to some mutually agreeable understanding. And frankly, if we can't, we're all going to be friends. We're going to move forward in a gracious way. We still want to provide top quality education to the students in this area in the best possible way that we can. And I think that commitment has always been there. Sometimes friends have a disagreement, but the nature of friendships is that you get past your disagreements and you continue to be friends and work things out in an amicable way. And, I think for the best interest of the kids and the community and everybody, we really want to do that. So I bring that message. I ask you to consider that. But I think on the whole, Homestead has been well served in the new schools and the new programs. Been a lot of focus of attention, a lot of national media coverage of the schools down here, the winners in various contexts, the chess kids alone worth all the attention that we could possibly bring them. And I think we're cautiously optimistic about where the system is going generally. Scores have been up all over in schools. Results are pretty solid. And we're optimistic about where things are going. So thanks a lot. It's always a pleasure to come down and see my friends.
Thank you.
Okay.
We added the consent agenda?
No,
Main Street. Main Street, Yvonne.
I'll make this very fast. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, council members, Mr. Ivy. I think I'm the only one that recognizes you at these events. Homestead Main Street, following Evelyn Greer's wonderful presentation, wants to do something for the teachers of Homestead. So Main Street has two events to announce for the month of May. First is our Teacher Appreciation Reception, which is going to be held on Wednesday, May 9th at Spellbound Bookstore at 107 North Chrome Avenue. This evening is a collaboration between the Main Street Association and two of our downtown businesses, Spellbound Book and Gift Store and Sushi Dan San, a traditional Pan-Asian restaurant in our historic district that has just opened up. As this school year comes to an end, we invite all educators from Homestead and Florida City to come and let us show you our appreciation for your commitment to the education of the children of our community. Please come down. We'd like to feed you and give you an evening of appreciation at the Spellbound Bookstore on May the 9th at 6 p.m. Then on May 26th, Saturday, please come down to the Historic District for our second annual Purple Martin Bike Ride. You'll be seeing these posters around Homestead starting tomorrow. This is the event. It begins on Chrome Avenue and will proceed south on Chrome to Palm Drive and then west on Palm Drive to southwest 217th Avenue, then into the Everglades National Park, riding out to the Nike missile site, which will be open for our use on that day. Finally, the ride will come out of the park and proceed north on 217th to Schnebley Winery, which will be the final stop. Although this is a ride and not a race, riders of all skill levels are invited to participate. We would like to send our thanks to Mayor Otis Wallace of Florida City for his generous support of this event. My co-chair of this event is Tropical Everglades and Mr. Jim Accurcio of the Capri Restaurant, who has been invaluable in helping us put this together. All information, registration, waivers, and fees are available on our Homestead Main Street website at the homesteadmainstreet.org. Now, I would like to introduce Mr. Sid Dixon, Chairman of the Homestead Main Street Design Committee, who will give a brief update on the facade improvement program.
Thank you, Yvonne. This will be brief. We have finally completed all of our work for the approvals for the facade improvement program. To give you a little background, there was a total of $75,000 that was set aside, provided to Main Street by CRA. We had 20 applicants for works to be done. 2 people had dropped out. One moved and one went out of business. We had 7 applicants rejected because of incomplete information or none at all. We had a total of 11 approved. The approval amount was $90,339, and we are splitting that. 75% is being paid by us and 25% by the building owner or the tenant, whatever the case may be. That is $67,379 is what has been committed for, and the owners or the tenants will be liable for the $22,960. There's a balance of $7,621, and hopefully that we'll be able to hang on to that for a little bit, because there are going to be extras. We're pretty sure every time construction gets started, we find that there are things we didn't account for. We have a public meeting. It was publicized in the newsletter last week. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the Homestead, the museum, 41 North Chrome. And hopefully we're going to have any comments, questions, and clear up any questions at that time. And the public is invited. In fact, we request many of the public that want to can get there so that we can let everyone know where your money is going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just real quickly, sorry for the
delay. But as Steve Shiver, President of Homestead Main Street, I really want to thank Sid Dixon for his work as a volunteer, reviewing applications, dealing with the owners, the renters. It's not an easy thing for him to do, and he put hours, countless hours into this. And Sid, thank you very much on behalf of the Homestead Main Street.
And thank you, Yvonne, for the update. Public hearings, ordinances, land use, Mr. Weiss.
Consent.
What?
Need the consent agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, the consent agenda. Moved by Councilwoman Bell, is there a second? Second by Councilman Hodge. Any questions on the consent agenda? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed?
Item 7, public hearings, ordinances, land use items, etc. Quasi-judicial public hearings. Please be advised that the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment on any of these items, please indicate the item number you'd like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to be either cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda package on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Section 591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any items on this agenda. At this time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to identify on any quasi-judicial item.
Please stand and raise your right hand. I state your name. Hereby swear or affirm that the information I present shall be the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you.
First item on your agenda is a second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Campbell Storage, LLC for a rezoning from Restricted Retail District B1 to Retail Commercial District B2, further approving site plan approval for an approximately 134,075 square foot self-storage facility located on the north side of 312th Street, Campbell Drive, and east of Southwest 162nd Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date. This is second reading.
Offer motion. Okay, we have a motion for approval by Councilwoman Bell, seconded by Councilman Hodge. Would the applicant wish to make a presentation or have any comments?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Maria Growley. I represent Campbell's Storage, and we are here in second reading. And there were some questions at the last time we were here in reference to the sign. We have submitted a signed site plan, and we will answer any questions that you may have.
We do have a rendering that demonstrates some dimensions and shows the artist's conception of the appearance of the building. Are there any questions from council?
Beautiful.
One question I had, number one, I guess the dimensions of the sign fall within the sign guidelines that will be permitted for this building based upon the size of the building. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And the signage here is depicted, and I'm guessing this depiction shows it on the west side. Where will the signage be located? We don't have that before us.
It's facing Campbell Drive.
The signage faces. Okay.
Yes.
The sign. Will that be the only signage up on the wall of the building? Will be facing Campbell Drive. Okay. Good. Which would essentially what we would refer to as the front of the building. make clear, I think some of the concerns I expressed was that it would be something that would be glaring from the turnpike or toward the hospital, and this goes a long way to that. And this is still for a 5-story building, is that correct? Yes. Okay, so public hearing. Anything further from council? Anything from the public? This is a public hearing, and the public is welcome to comment or ask any questions that they may have. All right. We'll close the public hearing and have to ask if there's anything further from council. Clerk, roll call vote.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lozner?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 7B is a second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Royal Home Villas LLC for a rezoning from General Use District G to Townhouse District RTH, and further granting site plan and tentative plat approval for a residential development consisting of 198 townhouse units, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date. This is second reading.
For motion. Thank you. We have a motion for approval by Councilman Hodge. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
We have a second from Councilman Porter. Is the applicant present?
Comments, Mr. Lozner?
Are there any comments or presentation from the applicant on this matter?
I'll share with you.
Mr. Chairman, Mayor and Council, I refer to the public comment first, as they seem to be lining up, so I'd let them go first out of courtesy.
All right. First, are there any initial questions or comments from council before we go to comments from the public?
Yes, I have a comment.
Councilwoman Bell.
Yes, thank you. I wasn't present for the meeting when this was approved on first reading. I was in Tallahassee for days and some lobbying. You know, I took a look at this and I was reading it, and we talked about how the market has cooled in the city of Homestead, and there comes a time when it's time to say no. And I certainly didn't think it was a time to say no when it was single-family homes and it was less than 5 units to the acre. But for this to actually, granting the request for rezoning from general to townhouse district, I just can't support it at this time. I just can't support it. I'm seeing on the east side just not dozens, beyond dozens of empty townhouses sitting there, and I just can't support this at this time. So I just wanted to get that on the record. They actually look lovely, but I just can't support not only changing the zoning, but adding more townhouses in our community. So I wanted to voice my opposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bell. Mr. Chairman, do you have a comment?
As I said at the last meeting, I just can't support it. I would support 6 units per acre, and but I'm in the market and I know how bad it is, and those of you that were at the last meeting know how I feel.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, there has been since 2004 multiple votes taken at this level, planning and zoning, multiple public hearings, changing the land use from what you recall being high density or high use commercial, I think intensive use. And at the time we were discussing, there was a car dealership that approached us with their full service automobile dealership. Hey Bob, line 2 is for you at 7 o'clock in the morning on the PA system. There were quite a few people from Lakeshore at that point in time that were pretty happy with the change in use, and they were here in this audience, in fact. If it were the job of this council to regulate the market on product type, and because there's vacant uses, then you would be taking on a different hat. With all due respect, the property will not get built if they're going to sit empty. Bankers will not let that happen. The investors will not let that happen. So if it's on, and Mr. Pascuzzo, I don't know if he's here today, he sent me a wonderful email. Pat Pascuzzo, is he here today? Mr. Pascuzzo, you send me quite a few emails. I wish you were here. He sent me a wonderful email. Mr. Shiver, I like your project, but quite frankly, there's just too many vacant units right now. So when it comes up and the market needs it, then we'll be happy to support it. Now,
ladies and gentlemen, there are investors in this audience, there are people in this audience that come to your community on a daily basis and put their money where their mouth is. I live here, okay? And for someone to tell me that I like your project when I think it's ready, how much background in real estate does that person have? I'd like to know that, number one. Number two, this product has been through countless meetings with your staff. It has been meetings with your urban designer, who we have met with probably 5 times, 6 times, in designing a product that felt comfortable for the council and the zoning members to approve at that point. You changed the land use. If you had issues about this type of product coming down the path, you changed the land use back in '04. You changed it yourselves. So, and there was never a question. So for the 11th hour, and I grant you understand wholeheartedly the questions and concerns on the Palm Drive traffic that we have right now. But as I said to Mr. Pascuzzo in an email, go sit there at the shift change of FPL. It's not the residents that are coming in and out of the development that you see, because you have the aerial where it shows the location. There's a 4-lane road being built to the southwest of this, that actually is in the city of Homestead at their cost. Excuse me, city of Florida City. So your exit is not going to be through that Palm Drive and the high school intersection. So there are many reasons to deny this application. There are many reasons to discuss this application. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you, your job is not to regulate the marketplace. Your job is to regulate zoning and ensure the developments that take place are in accordance with your code that you set forth in your own position. So I'm not done yet, but I'll wait for the remainder of the comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ford, you would like you want to make a comment on the bill?
I don't see the attorney, but I guess when... Oh, James, I'm sorry, I was looking for Richard.
Just wait.
Wrong attorney.
Just wait.
Yeah, we've been through a lot of discussions similar to this in the past about the role and the legalities of what really realistically can and can't or should or shouldn't be done. And obviously, at this particular point, when I read through this, it meets the legal criteria. And you judge projects based on legal criteria. What makes legal criteria to discuss, whether it be market, whether it be vacant properties? Is that part of the legal criteria that can be included in a discussion like this?
It can be discussed, but your decision needs to be based on competent, substantial evidence that's before you on a rezoning, on a site plan. Whether or not there is too much of a certain product, or whether or not it may or may not sell, is truly a developer and market risk type of analysis, and does not come into play in regards to whether or not you should grant an application for a site plan or rezoning or a tentative plat. What you need to take into consideration are things such as implications that would be adverse to the community, i.e. traffic, that we've been talking about for the last year and a half. Those types of things are all evidence that go to you weighing whether or not to grant that decision. The staff report that's been submitted to you indicates that this application does comply with adequate public facilities, that it does not have a burden on the level of service, or doesn't affect the level of service, if I'm not mistaken. I know that was some of the concerns that was voiced at the last meeting in regards to this particular project. So I would just caution you this evening on your vote, when you're deciding, that if you truly are only looking at what the market risks are, that may not be what you want to base your decision on this evening.
Okay, so And this is why it's been, it's a little confusing when you have to sit in this particular role and have to make these decisions, because you do have, the staff report is fairly clear. Well, it's very clear. I mean, it went through all the appropriate processes, and all the appropriate people took it and molded it, changed it, folded it, whatever, and at this particular point in what I read and what I see, it fits those criteria. So based on that, it's hard for me just to say abstractly that I don't think it should be allowed. The other issue was back to the question of the zoning change, because I know when we originally zoned that piece of property to...
I'm sorry, you mean the future land use?
Yes, the one where it was heavy commercial.
The future land use.
Okay, that was put in place because of the water theme park. There was supposedly a water theme park that was a bunch of money being acquired, and that was why that heavier use was allowed in that particular piece of property, because everybody wanted a water theme park. Well, that's gone now. So when I made the decision to allow the zoning change, and I think it was 2004, was to let it more or less marry the existing community that was around it, i.e. Lakeshore, where it's more of a townhome environment. So, it's hard to sit here and say, if we're going to say enough is enough, we need to just stop it all. Just shut the whole thing down. Just lock the city doors and just say no more building until whatever needs to happen needs to happen. I don't know what that is. If it's sell what you got or I don't know. But at some point in time, it's hard for me to sit up here and say, I like this development because it's 6. I don't like this one because it's 7 or 9 or 12. That's where I get in the dilemma sitting up here having to decide based on the density of the product. If the density of the product fits in an area where there's already current density in place, and it fits in an area where there's already a transportation system in place, ease of access to the turnpike, as an example, I would certainly think that those should all be considerations that we all look at. When you talk about putting a product like this maybe west of Redland Road, it doesn't fit because obviously there's no product like this out there, and in addition there's really no adequate transportation system to feed it. So it's a dilemma that we sit up here in, but it's hard for me to sit here and say no to this project because of a market force or something that really isn't part of what we're supposed to evaluate the product on. And if we're going to do that, I think we need to really step back and say, it's not about 6 per acre, it's not about 10 per acre, it's not about 20 per acre. It's about whether we should let anything else be built at all. That's the dilemma I'm at. Because we're going to start saying no to anything that's more than 6, we should say no to everything. Just shut it all off. And just see what happens. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. James, I want to try to hit on a theme that, in a line of analysis that I thought we were clear on at the last hearing, and I just want to make sure that I'm right and clearly lay my groundwork for where I am or where I was on this application. Site plan approval, well, let me back up. The underlying land use designation provides for up to, and in this case I think 10 units per acre. It doesn't say you have the right to build 10, it says you have the right to build up to 10, subject to many factors. And as I understand it, the site plan approval process is the last point at which we as a quasi-judicial body have the discretion to just say, without really giving any reason, pronouncing any reasons, if someone came in at the 9.98 or 10, we have the discretion to say no and would be equally within our ability to come back and say okay to 5, 6, 7, or 8. This is our point of no return, that if we ever had any discretion at all in balancing our growth and infrastructure concerns with land rights that are created by virtue of land use designations, this is that point.
That is correct. The future land use map allows a density up to a certain, oftentimes, and it has been done here, is that maximum density has been granted. And you can do something lower. There's no guarantee that the applicant will get the maximum density allowed. But I would just caution you that there should be some logical evidence or something on the record that you're basing that decision on for the site plan. If you think it's too much for the area, looking at the surrounding area as well, taking all those factors in consideration, I would just say to you to use that reasoning when you are viewing this application.
Well, right, because from my perspective, there's an agreement to fund a study to determine whether or not there's a need for a traffic light at an intersection. But there's been the calculation is not there that new roadway improvements or contributions beyond that potential signalization are required. But it follows to me that common sense says that 120 units calculated at 6 per acre generate far less trips per day than 198 units. And in that regard, my concern is when Waterstone first began to be developed and Key State Gate started catching up with the domino effect that Waterstone had, people said we're becoming Kendall, we're going to be just like Kendall. And our answer then was, well, not really, because we're not nearly as wide geographically as the Kendall area is, but that because the two major developments are large and done with comprehensive development, typically under a master plan situation. And my personal fear is that this is the beginning of the kind of project that we're going to see of that Kendallization, where everybody's got their 5, 10, or 20 acres. They get development approval to the max. There's no cross-connectivity. There's no lump sum of contribution toward roadway improvements. Just the last guy in with his last little piece of property perhaps gets left holding the bag and walks away from doing his project. So that would be my rationale. And well, let me back up. But if there were some thought out there, and based on prior vote, I see where this is going versus where it was going a few minutes ago. It's not within our purview to play let's make a deal with the applicant at this point. The site plan has to either be approved or disapproved at this point. Is that correct? It's not appropriate for anyone to say, I'm not going to vote for your 9.98, but I'd probably vote for your 6, or is that appropriate at this stage?
I would say that it's probably an indication to the applicant of where you all would go, but I don't necessarily think that bartering at this point would be appropriate in the public hearing.
Okay, that's Mr. Attorney, Mr. Losner. And we could not modify our plans on the fly. We'd have to go back through a complete process that involves your planner, your designers, and things like that. That would be impossible.
Vice Mayor, may I?
Right, I think Ms. Waldman had a comment, and then Ms. Bell.
I just want to make sure everyone knows just what I said at the last meeting. My major issues are traffic. I just don't feel like the roads have kept up. I've talked to Sherry about this over and over. I wasn't happy with the traffic analysis. And I sat over there and I watched that traffic on Tennessee. And the roads just aren't keeping up. And yes, there's plans for more roads here and there, but who's to say when they're going to be finished? So I just want to make that very, very clear.
Thank you, Ms. Wallman. Ms. Bell.
Thank you. First of all, it's not just a site plan that we're looking at tonight. We're also looking at a rezoning from general use to townhouse district, yes? So are you sitting there telling me that I have to say yes to rezoning?
No, I didn't say that.
I know you didn't say that.
No. Well, there's a couple things you're analyzing here as well. You're analyzing the rezoning. The rezoning, you should look at the future land use map, the future land use designation, which you all legislatively changed in 2005 to medium-density residential. Now, there's only a few things that can be implemented zoning-wise by MRU, and RTH is one of those. Then there's the tentative plat, which mirrors the site plan. So that's another analysis as well. It just so happens the way we do it here in Homestead is oftentimes we collectively will put the rezoning, the site plan, and the tentative plat all together for ease and for consistency and to speed the process along. A lot of times the rezoning will come first, followed by the site plan and the T-plat. So when you're reviewing the rezoning, I would tell you to look at consistency with the comprehensive plan.
The future land use map.
With the future land use map, and then when you're looking at the site plan, to look at those issues which you all have been discussing in regards to the traffic, compatibility issues with the neighborhood as well. Now, in your rezoning analysis, you can take into consideration the density, but keep in mind that you all already approved the medium residential use, which allows up to 10. Right.
And you said something very key earlier. You said, while the council has had a tradition of doing up to the maximum, that doesn't mean we have to continue that tradition, or else there's no need for us to even be sitting up here at the dais right now. What's the point of us being here? Then we just need a rubber stamp after P&Z and just to move forward. But we're here for a reason. And if we sit up here and we make an observation about empty homes, it doesn't mean that that's a determination as to why we're making a decision. It means it's an observation. It is one among many observations, and it is one among many observations. The east side is becoming increasingly difficult to drive through, to get across. There's many other issues over on the east side. And I think as a responsible councilwoman, it is absolutely my job to say I am going to vote in what I think is the best interest of the city of Homestead as a whole. And this additional 200 townhouse units on this particular size of piece, so you're talking a very large quantity of units put to the acre. I'm frustrated because it's almost as if you're sitting there telling us we have to say yes, and I know better. I mean, I know we don't have to say yes, and that is something I want to make very, very clear here right now, that is our choice, and that's why we sit here to represent the best interest of everybody out here in the city of Homestead. Not that this is a bad product or this wouldn't be beautiful as finished. Nobody is saying that. What we're saying is in the best interest because of traffic, because of congestion, because of schools, because of every other issue out there that we have to take into consideration. And when something says up to 10 or up to a certain amount, it doesn't mean we have to go up to that very limit. Just because it has been a tradition, it doesn't mean it must continue to be a tradition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Mr. Hodge. Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just have a couple of questions for you, Jane. Sorry for putting you in the hot seat. But theoretically, in 04, 05, whichever year, we voted to change the future master plan, comprehensive plan, for this particular usage, correct?
Yes, that's correct. In 2005, it was changed from heavy commercial use to medium residential use.
And although the codes, the zoning, the density, the type of housing, all the amenities that comes and goes, the traffic studies, all of those things that are in code was previously set by this council or some past council before this application was presented.
I'm not exactly sure.
Basically what I'm saying, the density, the usage, the type of amenities that this project would have, the traffic regulations, the infrastructure regulations that this application has abided by were previously set before the application was submitted.
Well, and I think I know where you're going. There is a zoning district which they're asking to go to. In that zoning district, the RTH, there are a set of regulatory guidelines and regulations that pertain to the development of any project that's coming in under RTH zoning, which your staff has indicated the application complies with. The application has to comply with concurrency, whether or not there's adequate public facilities on the roadways, if the levels of service are adequate, sewer, water, all of those things, the applicant needs to comply with as well. Those regulations and standards are set forth in your code, which your staff has reviewed. Again, the future land use map policies have already been set in your comp plan, which designates the density allowed, and it's as well codified in your code, talking about or indicating the amount of residential density that's allowed in this particular future land use district as well.
James, could you give them the, under the future land use plan designation, the consistent zoning, the zonings that would be consistent with that other than this one?
Yeah, yes, under medium density residential use.
Just give a little bit of an introduction. Just I think you understand this, but just to go over it again. The comprehensive plan sets forth a particular designation. You're obligated legally to provide a zoning that is consistent with that designation, and so that there are a couple of designations that you could give that would be consistent with that designation, some of which have the density, the maximum density allowed under the comprehensive plan designation, some of which have less density than under the comprehensive plan designation. So what I've asked James to do is give you the possible, the law requires you to give a consistent designation, and there are a couple of options under this density.
Okay, it states that the residential use is only up to 10 dwelling units per gross acre. The land use designation is generally implemented through R2, R3, which is multiple apartment, RTH, townhouse, RCH, which is cluster house, RMH, which is residential mobile home park, RTND, which is traditional neighborhood development, and GP, which is government property.
Okay, so those are the options. Those are the categories that your comprehensive plans say are consistent.
Which really go to type of development, not density.
Not density, up to.
It's all up to. Within any one of those categories, with this underlying designation, you can go up to 10. Those zoning designations really more govern what product you're building.
That's right.
Than number of units. I mean, I guess implicitly, you could build more apartments per acre under an R3 than you would build with a cluster home, for example.
And again, the property is Zone G right now, which is general use, and you still have a couple of properties throughout the city that are Zone G, which are basically just a holding category or a holding zoning district. So right now, even though the future land use maps say even if it would have been heavy commercial, it still would have had a G designation, and if the applicant came in and wanted to develop, it would have to develop or come to seek a zoning category that is consistent with the heavy commercial from you to be able to develop. It wouldn't be able to develop with G. So the same scenario is here. It's still G. The zoning never changed. The future land use map changed from heavy commercial to now medium residential, but the applicant's now seeking a zoning category so that they can move forward and develop the property. So one of those categories, one of those zoning categories will need to be assigned to this property.
Home park, condominium, apartment building.
Vice Mayor, I think
Take your pick.
I think what's confusing is that you're asking us to do everything in one vote.
One ordinance.
In one ordinance. And I speak for myself only, but I would really like that not to happen anymore, because it's very confusing, it's very hard, and it's I just feel that every single issue needs to be looked at and examined very closely. I can understand rezoning, but when you've got everything combined into seven lines or 6 lines, you know, it makes it bad.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Chairman, just for the record, your staff has done a remarkable job in streamlining things. If we went through an individual process for each item we go through, we will be in public hearing for 2 years before we get a zoning change. And I submit to you, Mr. Porter, you said earlier, if you want to stop it, that'll probably get everybody in this room. And, you know, you'll have the people that don't want any development. You know, I've got my homestead, or I've got my acre in the Redlands, leave me alone, don't make anybody else let it happen. Those kind of people, you'll have them here in the audience. But that's all you'll have in the audience. This community should pride itself on what it's been able to do. Now, there's some people that moved here when Keys Gate was just one development, Northgate. Mr. Trantham and I were just talking about how they wanted it to be an elderly community. Okay, I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that has changed. That's not happening here. And you know, I'm sorry for getting a little passionate, but you know, in 2004, when we began discussions with your urban planner, when we went through the whole process of what we could build in a heavy commercial use in this area, could you imagine? Could I ask for, I may, your staff, can you give me a couple of uses that would be permitted in a heavy commercial use? That this was future land use, under the future land use map? Just give me the top 2 or 3 on your list, please.
Mr. Shriver, I don't really know if that's relevant. The land
no, sir, I'm sorry. I do have the right to ask the question.
Going back and saying we don't need to
I do have the right to ask the question, sir.
Well, you may, but we all know the smoke and mirrors here. Okay, yeah, we all know maybe you
Mr. Losner, with all due respect, you represent me in 2 companies. I think that you're conflicted out of this discussion.
I absolutely do not.
You're a registered agent for a company.
Mr. Shriver.
And I would like to have...
Mr. Shriver.
Yes.
Let's move on.
If you think I do, you call the Florida Bar tomorrow morning. I will not leave this dais, and I will not make myself a victim of your extortion, sir.
Sir, not extortion at all. But I'm asking a question.
You all do that after this meeting.
May I ask a question, please, Mr. Mayor? I do have the right just to ask for the public is asking about the commercial use, and I would like to find out what I could have done now.
I think it's clear, Mr. Shriver, that this council in 2005 went through a tedious, comprehensive review process. Okay? And as I mentioned at the last meeting, when we set rules and guidelines down for people to follow, and you give direction on what we want in this community, and we've done that through the comprehensive master plan. We've done that.
And we've abided by every one of those rules.
That's my point, is that now if we want to change the rule, we need to go back to the plan and make those changes and give staff better direction on what we should do. But I don't believe in changing the rules in the middle of the game. It's unfair to you, and it's unfair to any other developer to come up wanting to do business in the city of Homestead. I think it's totally unfair. Now, we have a traffic situation, as Ms. Waldman said, in Homestead. Now, just last year, 2 years ago, we all had to look at this concurrency requirement. We have a model and a formula for transportation. So we're going to change that. We need to go back to the table and be fair to everyone and redesign, rediscuss, review our comprehensive master plan again and be a little more restrictive. We also have an opportunity to just shut everything down and don't move forward, no more development in Homestead. But I don't think any of us want to do that. Now, what is fair is, what's the existing law in the city of Homestead? What are the requirements to build or to open a business in Homestead? What are the requirements? Have you met those requirements? Have you gone through our planning and zoning? Have you gone through staff? Have they shared with you the specific requirements of the city of Homestead? My question to my colleagues, what more do you want you to do? Now, if we want to deal with the transportation issue, we need to be consistent and hold everybody to the same standard. And I think we've done that with the new requirements of transportation. Everybody have to give up something. So it's when we sit here and say, okay, you've met all the requirements, but I'm still not satisfied. I want you to go back at 1 unit per acre.
There.
But the law does not say that. Now, we want the law to say that. Let's change the law. But not let's change it in the middle of the game. It's unfair to you and it's unfair to anybody else who want to do business in the city of Homestead.
Mr. Mayor.
And I think Councilman Garner have looked at this issue a year ago? 2 years ago. 2 years ago? And we all sat around here and it was a unanimous vote.
Mr. Mayor,
so let's not change the game.
Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, I deeply apologize to this board and to this group for the outburst, interchange between your colleague and I. But Mrs. Waldman brought up a very valid point of transportation and traffic. You remember this part was parcel with the entire area that was to be a theme park, which straddles Florida City and Homestead. Okay, that was the water theme park for the heavy commercial use.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, I'm sorry. I just need to interrupt for just 1 moment. Just for the record, could you please identify the map that you're referring to so that it's clear?
Sure. It's a map printed by RS Environmental Consulting, Inc., the project number, section 195739. It's in Florida City. Okay. And Homestead. Okay. This is the development. This is the issues that are raised by many of the residents, the 5 people or so, the residents that Mr. Pascuzzo has pointed out to me, has been the issue of Palm Drive and basically the accidents that take place when the kids let out of school. The FPL guys are doing 80, 90 miles an hour down that road. And by the way, I do have the police statistics for you to look at on that road. The majority of those stops are calls for service, they're speeding, and they're coming from work. Okay? But the majority of this traffic flow, this is already a 4-lane road paid for by the developer in Florida City. It has nothing to do with Homestead. This is a 4-lane road. Okay? The beauty of this affordable housing, a townhouse, when you talk about density, I could have built 1 townhouse per acre, but I'd have to sell them for $1 million a piece. You know, when you talk about affordable housing, I mean, I submit to you these would be in the $200,000 to $300,000. I mean, this is not going to be an undesirable project. Let's just put it that way. And the traffic pattern goes here, it's down this 4-lane to US 1 to the turnpike, and they go to work. There's not really, unless they work in Turkey Point, the traffic pattern is not going to take them out of here and go east on Palm Drive. It just, the flow, your staff, your traffic analysis, they have already gone through that process of how traffic will flow. The staff has said, and it was just mentioned by there, that it does meet adequate public facilities. There's adequate public facilities to support this. Your staff recommends it. And then we talk about density per acre. You know, 10 units, it keeps up to, okay, great. You have now also a mobile home park designation you could grant here, an apartment complex, which I know there's a couple of folks up there that hate apartment complexes. I know that from my past history. But if you look here, there's not just townhouses row to row. There's a pool, there's a clubhouse, there's a lake, there are greenbelt areas required by your staff. Your urban designer has gone through countless meetings with us to design pedestrian connectivity to get through to the town, to the pool and the clubhouse facility. You know, this is your code. This is what you've asked us to do. So I submit to you, you have a product in front of you you've all been asking for. We started in 2004. It's in 2007. We would like you to do your best to see fit to approve our project. Thank you. And I would reserve the right to answer any questions.
Mayor, I have one comment.
Ms. Bell?
Thank you so much. I want to make something very clear. I'm not challenging the process. I'm not challenging the grouping of the rezoning with the T plan and the site plan. I understand the process, and I'm fine with the process. What I'm simply saying is that this council has the discretion within the allotted designation, within the allotted future land use, within the allotted density, to say, when something says up to 10, we could say, because of what's happening, we really believe that 6 would be the best, because it still falls within, it would still fall within the parameters of an acceptable use, it would still fall with, or 7, or whatever, we could still say that. I understand the legalities of approving it and being consistent. You want to be consistent with the future land use map. You want to be consistent with what's in the surrounding area. It would not be inconsistent. Yes, it is consistent to go with the staff recommendation, the P&Z recommendation. Absolutely. I'm not challenging the process. I'm not challenging the actual project. What I'm saying is when you see something happening and you see the excessive growth and you see the excessive traffic and you see what's happening in your town, sometimes you need to pull the reins back a little bit and say, we think you have a great idea, but instead of 10 units to the acre, we really think we can't afford right now at this point in our city because of what's happening, more than 7. I'm just going to throw that number out there. But what I just want to say is just to be a little level-headed right here is that nobody's saying no. Nobody said no. What we're saying is we can say less density and still be consistent with the future land use map and still be consistent with the T5 and site plan and rezoning. So everything can be consistent. It's not saying no, it's saying let's just do better.
And Ms. Bell, thank you for being very rational in that thought, and that is absolutely correct. You could do that. That is absolutely in the realm of your responsibility as an elected official. Pull the reins back, part of your conversation, if that's going to happen though, and again, you have the right to do that, it should happen in the staff, direct your staff in 2004 when we began this conversation, or 2005 when that was a future land use map, when we started designing and going through the urban design work and stuff like that. I respect exactly what you're saying, and I thank you for saying that. You do have the right. But I would just say collectively as a council, you need to direct your staff before it gets to, $500,000 process of planning and zoning work that my client has expended or more. So, thank you. That's a very good point.
Any other comments? Dr. Trampler?
No light on me now, Doc.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor. Thank you for conducting that first part of this meeting. And thank you, Council, for listening again to my argument. You know, if we had all the water we wanted for this area for the future, and we had all the infrastructure on board, and if we had a reasonable number of the units that are already built, sold, not in foreclosure, not for rent, I wouldn't be here. But I'm coming to you as a resident. I'm not coming to you as a developer, and I understand that this sounds like a great development on its own merits as far as the housing goes, and as far as what they're trying to put into the quality of their product is excellent. That's not the argument here. And what planning and zoning did, yeoman's work, and we do appreciate you, by the way, in this community for the work you do. However, there are 3 salient arguments against this immediate proposal. And number 1 is what I mentioned at the last meeting, and that we do not have the water, all the water we're going to need. I know that some people think that because it rained last night and the day before now, there's not a water shortage. But there's still a water shortage, folks. And I've talked to people from South Florida Water Management and other groups I belong to up north, and they tell me that these water restrictions are going to be permanent, and there's a very good chance that they will be. And now you're talking about having 500 more people right here sucking the water, and 500 more automobiles driving out of that development, a possibility of that. And so I say to you that we do not have the water for what we're building now and the way we're building it, with the too many units to the acre, whether it's 12 or 10 or whatever it is, that's too many. And we were promised that you would try to keep this to 6 to the acre on the east side. I'm sorry, I have a good memory for that. And many discussions with town hall meetings and so forth that brought that about. The second argument, besides the fact that we're not going to have the water for all these people, by the way, there's good news and bad news on that water thing, you know. They found a new way, you know, to take, the good news is they're going to take the wastewater and make it potable. We're going to be able to drink the wastewater. The bad news is there's not going to be enough wastewater for everybody. So we are going to have water problems. We are going to have water problems. That's number one. Number two, I'm happy to hear two council people make very strong arguments. One, about the congestion. We're going to have terrible congestion, more than we already have. Our infrastructure is not catching up with what we're building. And secondly, or thirdly, the argument that we already have hundreds and maybe thousands of available apartments. So this is not something that we need to have at this time to bring us up to speed. We have already gone as far as we can go with this type of housing. And I would ask the council not only to deny this, but to put a building moratorium on residences of more than 6 to the acre. Put a building moratorium on it until the infrastructure can catch up. The roads, the schools. We don't have a new school built here for these people. The roads, the schools, the libraries, the parks, we do not have that on the east side. And it's a terrible thing that what we're doing to ourselves and our own quality of life for those of us who live on the east side of town. And sure, when I first moved down here 15 years ago into what I thought was going to be an active adult community, we couldn't get enough people to vote to make Keysgate, Northgate active adult. We couldn't make it. And now we have many, many families there. So the fact is that things change, and things are changing. And after we have the master plan, we have tremendous changes in this city. And we need to look at that, and we need to stop building apartment-style condos. And even if they have a big, nice lake, I don't know anybody that can walk on water, so that doesn't count for green space, folks. So please consider that, and consider a moratorium on this type of building. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, this is a semi-quasi-judicial project, isn't it?
Steve, before you speak, I need the staff to respond to I don't want Dr. Trantham to leave thinking that we got a severe water situation.
Yeah, there was a couple environmental issues that he pointed out that were incorrect.
That are inconsistent with the truth. So I just want to make sure that, is Mr. Shahada here?
He did address that at the last hearing.
Mr. Shahada did address that. We have a reuse program in Homestead. So we were one of the few cities in Miami-Dade County that water is not an issue in Homestead.
Mr. Mayor, in fact, you are one of the only cities in Miami-Dade County that makes up the greater proportion of the water reuse percentages claimed by Miami-Dade County in the first place.
We have a 100% water reuse program in the city of Homestead.
Yes.
So that's not an issue.
The allowance of water, and then one more thing, as a person that used to run the place, the deep well water injection that the EPA is mandating, okay, that's the problems we've had with DEP, and you hear the Dade County water issues. First of all, South Florida Water Management District covers not only Dade County. The 500 people that he seems are brand new, they fall out of the sky, in all probability will relocate from somewhere within that district in the first place. The deep well water injection and water purification, which will cost the taxpayers of this community about $1 billion plus to do, is extremely environmentally savvy. They do it in California. They do it in other locations. I don't want people in this community to be misled by a flippant statement that you're going to be drinking your potable, your wastewater. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a mandate by DEP, and that's something that goes through a lot of scrutiny. So please don't feel uncomfortable about your water and how we take care of it in South Florida.
Mayor, can I ask a question to staff?
Mr. Porter?
Let me ask a question with regards to residential developments and trips created as opposed to commercial developments and trips created. If the assumption is that residential development is causing all of the overloaded road systems, how does that equate to commercial? Because if you're going to, it's my understanding from all of the meetings that we've been involved in, that commercial development creates more trips on the roadways than the residential development. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're correct. Usually commercial has more number of the trip associated.
Usually in the mornings you'll have a window of heavy, and then it'll drop off during the day, and then after school, and then towards the evening. Those are maybe the real peak time. But the commercial is consistently more of an impact to the infrastructure.
Yes, usually we calculate all our traffic study with AM and PM peak hour, 7 to 9 and 4 to 6 p.m.
Okay, so all I want to say is if we're going to take a look at growth in this community and say that the negative growth on the infrastructure comes from residential components higher than 6 units per acre is not actually correct. If we're going to have to look at infrastructure supposedly not being available or not catching up, you need to look at the commercial stuff as well. And that gets to be the job creation side of the equation. So, it's got a kind of an all-or-nothing scenario here that we have to be careful about what we do, because just eliminating residential above a hypothetical number does not necessarily have a positive impact over transportation concerns as it would be to start eliminating commercial projects, which give you basically 9 or 8 to 5 traffic all day long. That's been my conversations with you guys in discussions about the commercial.
Yes, usually commercial has more number of the traffic, and residential is usually less associated.
I just want to make sure that I'm clear.
Just stop justifying it.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
Mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Hodge?
One final question to staff. In the process of reviewing and qualifying this applicant, based on all the criteria that has been set, first of all the criteria that have been set that we place in our code and the requirements that we set indicates and supports the growth and the future growth of the city. Is that correct?
We try to make sure that through our comp plan and through all our zoning and the level of service that we put on our roadway, to make sure that we do have some comfort for all the citizens of Homesteads.
Okay, thank you. And with that stated, I can support this application because, basically, if we set standards out there for our growth and our future growth, then those are the standards that we have. If we want to change those standards, then we need to relook at those standards and make them tighter standards. But I thought we have been a proactive council in the past and set the standards ahead of time in preparation for the growth that we're now incurring or have incurred. So if we do want to make that change where the growth slows or stagnates at some point, then I think we need to relook at that code. And I think Mrs. Gardner has done a great job in practically comprehensive changes to our codes and requirements. And it indicates our growth. So I can support this application based on this is what we planned for. Had we not planned for it and it was just popped out of the ground, then maybe we would have a different take on it. But this is what we planned for in the past, And if we want to make those changes, then we need to take another opportunity to look at those changes and replan the plan that we have in place. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. Yes, sir.
Yes, good evening, council members. Joe Nangas, president of East Lake Homeowners Council. We had a meeting last month with our homeowners, and East Lake's not a big little community. We only have 139 homes. But one of the questions that come up to me were people were saying, what's happening with all this traffic? And I was asked once again just to come over here and say something about it. I mean, you hear about all these reports and everything, but it's not the same as just sitting out there in a traffic light for time and time. Just to get here to this council tonight took me 15 minutes just to get from the other side of town. This 10 units per acre, this is a crazy number. I mean, we don't need this at this moment. And I'm hearing that this council's back here, that this is already a done deal and everything. You people up here, we voted you in to support us. To make the decisions for us. Please listen to us. And we say that this is not something that we want to see at this particular moment. Our roads can't handle it at the time. Infrastructure's not catching up to the housing we have. When you come down the turnpike, you're literally entering the city of Homestead. I mean, all you see is roofs everywhere. We would like to see a stop to this right now and just let things catch up. Please, we ask you not to vote for this at this time. I thank you for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Council. Angel Garot, 2214 Northeast 41st Ave. Came to bring some numbers. We've been saying overbuilding, but I'm actually going to give some numbers, and if I have the opportunity, I want to paint the picture of what I could possibly foresee. It's not a pretty picture. It's not the picture that made me move down to Homestead. I mean, I moved down here because of the hope and the growth, and I mean, it was going to be a fantastic community, but I see that picture changing. Just some statistics. Available properties in the city of Homestead for sale, single-family homes and townhomes, 1,591. That was pulled today from the MLS. Hialeah, and I just picked that one. I mean, we lead every city excluding high-rises. I'm not looking at Miami Beach. We don't have high-rises here. So if I pick the city, for example, Hialeah has 840 homes for sale. They had a population of 226,000 in the year 2000. I don't know what they would have today, but the relationship is nowhere near. They're 4 times, as far as homes, they got to be at least 5 or 6 times more homes there, yet they have half of the houses for sale. That's like crazy. I don't know how many households we have here, but based on, the mayor gave a figure, I believe, of 50,000 residents, and is it fair to say that the average will be about 3 residents per household, if we look at statistic, and would that be fair? That would give us about 16,000 homes. Would that be a fair assessment?
No. Those numbers don't work like that.
Does anybody know how many homes we have in Homestead? Can anybody from the city?
Residential units.
Residences?
Can I ask you a quick question, Mr. Grote? What areas did you pull?
No, I pulled city of Homestead. When you want to pull a city, the first 2 numbers, that's it, 10. You pull 10.
So you pulled down on the MLS?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, properties in the MLS that start with 10, which are the city of Homestead. There may be some errors in there, but there's going to be errors in Hialeah and everywhere else too.
That's what was on the MLS.
That's from the MLS. Well, I'm guessing there's 16,000 homes. Can anybody say that? I mean, you tell me. More or less. Okay, if there's 16,000, we have 10 per... What do we have, Mr. Mayor? I mean, Mr. Manager?
We probably have close to that, yeah.
Okay.
I would say so. The last time in the 2000, I think we were like almost 11,000.
No, I did it based on, you said we have 50,000. That would mean that 10% of the city of Homestead is for sale. I would like to challenge anybody here to show me another city that has 10% of the homes for sale. The picture that I see is supply and demand is very simple. The more supply, the more supply, less demand, the price is going to go down. Prices keep going down, keep going down, keep going down, until eventually all the investors just come in. Investors don't live in their homes, so they just rent them out, or you start having foreclosures. The next thing you know is basically Homestead could get to the point where it's actually maybe been blacklisted by banks, where it's even hard to get a loan in Homestead because of the high degree of for sale and for rent. And that happens in communities. When you do financing, they take a look at how many houses are for sale in the community and those kind of things, and it even becomes difficult for financing. So I mean, I just see another Andrew coming down to Homestead. The only thing, it wasn't a natural disaster, it was a disaster created by its own people. Thank you. Another statistics from January 1st through today, there has been 1,118 new homes in the MLS, brand new listings. 1,118. Since that time to now, 146 have sold. That's a huge gap. We got 7 homes coming in the market for every one sold. And now, we're adding another 200. Based on those statistics, these 200 homes, you're adding another 4 to 5 months supply of homes to inventory. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't know how they're going to sell the homes, but that's, I guess, none of my business.
Angel, to wrap it up, your 3 minutes is up. I'm going to let you go ahead and wrap it up right quick.
That's pretty much it. As far as changing the plan in the future, I think it's just going to be too late. It needed to have been changed. Maybe last year when you said we're going to slow down the wagon and start taking those measures there. If we're going to try to change this for next year, it's just going to be too late. So I'd like for you guys to make the right thing, to make the right decision tonight.
Mayor, I'd like to call the question. It's time for a vote.
Okay. Well, let me just comment on Angel. There's a difference between a pessimist and an optimist. And I just think that when people look at, because you got a $300,000 home that is empty, that is a bad thing in the city of Homestead. I don't look at it like that, Angel, because I know that house will be filled. It's just a matter of time. The market is down now, but it's going to change. And people are going to buy these homes in Homestead. I'm not worried about it. These are first-class development. Ones that came in and made a tremendous difference and had a positive impact on the economy of the city. Without those homes, prior to Hurricane Andrew, we were 67% of rentals in this community. That have changed tremendously, had a positive impact on the local economy here. Folks are coming into Homestead, those houses, when you said about 10% vacancy, that's not an alarming number for me.
10% of every household in the city of Homestead is for sale.
You said you had 1,591 available, right?
For sale.
For sale.
And
that's not.
And there's 16,000 homes.
That's not a large number. Angel,
another city that has worse statistics.
I'm not concerned about the other cities. We're still. No. I'm not concerned about what's happening in other cities. I'm concerned about where we're going in the city of Homestead, and there's a very positive trend happening in the city of Homestead. So those homes will be filled. I have no doubt.
And Mr. Mayor, just with the best of respect for everybody in the room on this side of the table, you guys do a lot of work. It's not easy to stand up there and get beaten up by different facets of the community who they're yelling in the back, oh, they'll fill up by Section 8, and this is a joke. Okay, enough is enough.
I think that's Mr.
You went from 15 units an acre to 10 units an acre at the wisdom of this council. You have already reduced density in this community. Next door, 15 units an acre in Florida City. Next to this project here, they're 15 units an acre. In unincorporated areas of Dade County, they're 20 plus units an acre. So for somebody to stand up here to beat their chest and want to run for your seat, okay, enough is enough. You have done a good job. Congratulations.
The question has been called. The motion? Was there a motion?
Motion.
Second. Motion by Mr. Porter, second by Mr. Hall.
Already made.
Motion already made?
Yes. Already made.
Roll call, Madam Clerk. Let's get a roll call on this one.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
No.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman? No. Councilwoman Bell?
No.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Losner.
Before we continue, I've got to make a statement while people are still here and this issue is fresh. Number one, though, is that earlier tonight we had management review and we met with Richard Weiss and talked to the city attorneys. And one of the things I said to him was complimenting the fresh, young, best and brightest attorneys that work with his firm that were here with the city of Homestead. And I'll tell you what, James has personified that tonight. He's done a first-class job equal to a veteran public use attorney in a real tense situation, and I want to commend Richard for his wisdom in bringing James on, and thank and commend James for his knowledge and his professionalism and grace in these situations. Secondly, some very serious personal and professional allegations have been made against me tonight. It never ceases to amaze me the extent that some people will go to discredit those who have a reasonable difference of opinion and perspective. And I will tell you that the difference between sitting on this side of the table and on that side of the table is that from this side of the table, I am accountable personally and professionally and responsible for every thought, word, and deed every day of my life. My life is an open book. And I will tell you, I'm not going to risk my license to practice law, nor am I going to risk any kind of sanctions from the Miami-Dade Ethics Commission if I ever thought that I was in a conflict information, because those of you who know have known that I've walked out many times before, even when there was a question. And for that issue to be raised tonight after literally hundreds of votes, probably 99.9 of them against Mr. Shiver personally and his clients, I just feel like I need to make that, and I'm certain, if there's something there, I welcome any and all official investigation and report of that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Moving on your agenda, item 7C is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting site plan approval for a 1,500 square foot building with drive-through service located at 1029 North Homestead Boulevard, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date.
I will happily move this.
I'll second it.
Happily move this. Let me know when we're going to have my first mocha frappuccino.
Properly moved by Councilwoman Bell, second by Councilwoman Wallman.
What's her name?
Any further discussion from council? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Rosner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mayor and council, it is with great pleasure that we bring Starbucks finally to Homestead. Thank you.
Are we going to have a ribbon cutting or a latte sipping?
Cappuccino decaf.
Tell them if they have to give it to guys to sign the top here.
Thanks for staying this long.
Moving on to item 7D. 7D is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a waiver of plat to South Florida Redevelopment Group, LLC, for the division of property totaling approximately .28 acres into 3 parcels, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Bell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hodge. Any comment from council?
I have a question to the planner, Mayor.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Under the terms of the Northwest Master Plan, not the moratorium, but the plan as proposed, would this division be permitted?
Mayor and Council, Martin Schneider with the other planning group. Yes, this would be allowed as the master plan lays it out now. It's just 3 townhouse units on sizes that would be allowed under the new master plan under the recommendations in there.
I was under the impression that we had crafted the master plan to be such that we wouldn't be splitting lots and that we would promote the primary construction of detached single-family.
In the low-density residential areas, this is a medium-density residential area where this is located, and it has R2 zoning on it.
would this have the opportunity to come before us again? I know we're waiving the platting of 3 separate lots, and one thing that I noticed is we don't know how they'll be laid out on the property at this point, or, orientation toward the rest of the neighborhood.
No, that would come in at site plan, but based on the way the lots are divided, it would meet the requirements as far as the width and the depth of the lots and the overall size of the lots.
Yeah, because that was a concern, because it appears that they are primarily surrounded by detached single-family. Is that, based on my understanding where it is in the aerial that was in our package, it appeared that it was just south of Homestead Middle, in a block of, at least a row of truly single-family.
Yes, that area right now, the immediate properties appear to be single-family. It does look like there's some multifamily further to the south.
But primarily, at least it appeared to me, surrounded by what appeared to be detached, traditional single-family.
Right. But again, the underlying future land use is actually medium-density residential.
So even though the block is all built out with the exception of this corner, in single-family, we can still allow this?
Yes.
Well, that's something I think we need to go back and address in the plan then. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience on this? We have a vote in a second, right? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Nope.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Your last and final item, item 7E under quasi, is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting final plat approval for Baywinds Spine Road within the Baywinds Plan Unit Development, located north of 328th Street, south of 312th Street, west of 142nd Avenue, and east of 147th Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Offer motion.
Moved by Councilman Hodge, second by Councilwoman Bell. Any additional comments from council? Mr. Porter.
Just one question. There's been no changes to this. I mean, this has been on the table a very, very long time. Still connects to Mallory all the way to the
137.
east. It'll get you to 137 eventually?
Yes,
So
sir.
it's fully connected?
Yes.
Okay. 56 feet?
I'm sorry?
Is it 56 out at the UDB edge is right? It goes down?
From 142nd to 137 is going to be a 4-lane roadway.
4 lanes, okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? Any final comments from council? If not, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this point, I think we should deal with the first reading of the ordinance that we added to the agenda dealing with the senior tax exemption. That's all right, Mr. Mayor? First legislative item.
Actually, it's actually the second, but...
Ms. Bell, is that yours on the ARBD?
Except that's a resolution. I'm
Okay.
going to take it under resolutions as opposed to ordinances. I mean, you can take it any order you want, but I was just doing ordinances first, which is what we normally do, and then resolutions.
Okay.
I'll move it with a question.
Second.
Let me read it.
No.
Okay. I'll wait. An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the city code by amending Article 4, Homestead Exemption for senior citizens of Chapter 26 taxes to provide for increase in the amount of homestead exemption for low-income seniors, updating provisions regarding severability of inclusion in the code, delivered to the property appraiser, and an effective date. It's the first reading.
So we want to go ahead and do this even in the road of the legislative issue. There's no downside to doing anything like this.
Well, this was brought to you a little bit late, admittedly, because of that very fact. We thought it might not be something we need to do. This is voluntary on the city's part. Basically, and you may have, I don't know if you had time to read it, it increases the homestead exemption
for seniors 65 and over who make $20,000 or less. It adds, they'll have a $50,000 homestead exemption as opposed to 25. Now, this is voluntary to the city, but the county wants for it to be on this year for the tax assessor for the 07 tax bill. It needs to be into the county property assessor by June 1st. And we thought we were the same thing you did, that it may be a moot point after legislature finishes. However, they didn't finish, so we have to read twice. So to get it there by June 1st, we had to go ahead and slip it in tonight.
Okay, thank you. Read it on first reading, and then you can have even have a cow about it, or just get or committee of the whole, or
What was any idea of the financial impact? It's minimal. It wasn't that much.
It's going to be minimal.
Minimal.
Very minimal.
I'd see no problem.
Mayor?
Mr. Vice Mayor?
It's important to note that that exemption will only apply to the homestead portion of your tax bill, which, by the way, Mr. and Mrs. John Q. Homestead, is only about 22 to 25% of your total tax bill. Let's get together and look to the county and the school board for relief. Homestead taxes are not your primary financial issue. But for those who fall within this category, this is very meaningful. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Excuse me, that's an ordinance. Need to do it by
Roll call, madam.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mayor Warren, do you want to take the EFBD item, or you want to finish with the ordinances?
Now go ahead with the FPD.
Resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, providing for support for the termination of the interlocal agreement between the School Board of Miami-Dade County, the City of Homestead, and the Homestead Educational Facilities Benefit District, requesting Miami-Dade County to dissolve the EFBD and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor. A brief history. We have Taylor Smith, EFBD manager, with us this evening, Eric Fresen, chairman of the board, Judy Brostoff, member of the not-for-profit, and Mr. Shiver, also a member of the EFBD board representing the developer, and I represent the city on the EFBD board. I would like to call Taylor Smith up first to the podium, if you will, to give a brief overview. With all due respect to board member Greer's request for a cooling off, that's impossible. That's just impossible. And with all due respect, I did ask Ms. Greer really not to address it this evening because it was really not appropriate without the proper background. And so there was a speech made and we're really without the proper context and background. We had an EFBD board meeting this morning, and the EFBD voted almost unanimously with only one member voting against it, and that's Ms. San Pedro, who's actually a paid staff member of the school system, to vote against it. Everybody else voted in favor of dissolving or the termination of the EFBD interlocal agreement. After, I was not present at the meeting with Mr. Crew, but of course Taylor Smith was and Mr. Ivy was. And basically there's no money, there's no funds, they're not going to give us any impact fees, they're not going to give us any dollars. I just wanted to make one thing very, very clear, and I want to reiterate this again and help everybody understand. The EFBD has been one thing and one thing only. It is a funding mechanism to build schools. With the funding mechanism removed from the EFBD, there's no reason to continue with the EFBD. We haven't paid Mr. Taylor Smith, the manager, in I don't know how long. We haven't paid our attorney, our EFBD attorney, in I don't know how long. We cannot afford to exist. We have mounting debt with the not-for-profit as far as the loans that were taken out in order to do the site preparation and the land remediation. So it was about $5 million in debt with interest accruing consistently and constantly, that we cannot afford to keep the EFBD going. With all due respect to Ms. Greer and comments that were made earlier, Mr. Mayor, I think since the school board budgeted the $44 million to be expended at Homestead, that they should still continue with that. I think that since they budgeted the $44 million and there was a commitment from our board member this evening, then I think that they should bring that $44 million to Homestead. They should go and acquire the Oasis site. There's a 7-acre site, and let them build a school down here with that commitment that we heard tonight. So just because the EFBD is no longer exists, I still think that since the school system has budgeted that money, why they certainly can expend it on behalf of the citizens of Homestead. And with all the wonderful things that are going on in the southern area, not one of those schools that were mentioned tonight, not one, are being built in the city of Homestead. So while there might be a reliever in Gould's and a new South Dade Middle School that's out west, that's wonderful. That really is wonderful, and we're glad for that. But not one of those schools are in the city of Homestead. The reason we must move forward, and by the way, we're here tonight out of respect and deference for this council, in deference to this council, because as a member of the interlocal agreement, the EFBD had the authority to terminate itself, if you will. But out of respect for this council, we wanted to get you guys to basically support a resolution simply supporting the move that the EFBD made this morning. With that background, Taylor, I hope I didn't steal your thunder there, but with that, I just wanted to give the background on that and turn it over to Taylor Smith, and I'd also like to hear from Eric Fresen, who has been the chairman of the board for the EFBD. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. Taylor Smith, 1819 Goodwin Street, Jacksonville, Florida, 32204.
And I apologize for this lengthy meeting.
That's okay. I've learned a lot tonight. I wanted to...
So did we.
I just wanted to say a couple of things. One is, I was with the mayor and city manager at Rudy Cruz's meeting, and I would encourage the city, and here's what you have as a window of opportunity as a city to strike at an opportunity at the school board, which really is separate from the EFBD, because he made a commitment at our meeting, independent from the EFBD, to support the mayor in you, council, in your efforts to secure seats in Homestead. It was unashamedly, 100% categorically, we will build seats in Homestead, help us get sites separate from the EFBD. And so I suggest you grab onto that opportunity, and with Ms. Greer's comments tonight, it seems like there's 44 million reasons to do it right now, none of which are contingent on the EFBD. And the true irony is our reason for terminating this morning was to free up the city to fulfill its mission that we started 2.5 years ago, which is to secure seats in East Homestead. The site in Oasis now is able to be directly conveyed between the city, the landowner. The city is just a catalyst. You really don't have any stake in that 7-acre site. So as the jurisdictional body that happens to be over that site, you have an interest in it as a community. But the difference is that private landowner and the school board can do their transaction immediately, allowing the school board most likely to open a school on that site in 2009 without any further ado, without any strings or attachments. That was a benefit of what we did this morning by dissolving the interlocal, which had huge constraints on what could happen in the future on those sites. The second thing that happened was, as Linda said, and you have 3 board members here tonight, we've met tirelessly for the last 2.5 years, and for various reasons the school board have never released $1, and you can't operate anything without $1. And it really has gotten to the point where every day that we wait, there's interest costs accruing on the land, which are significant, with about a $5.5 million basis at this point, a combination of vendor financing and bank financing that must be relieved and solved. And the nonprofit was waiting until the EFBD either performed a miracle with the school board or not before it acted to dispose of its real estate, find another partner to do this. It's been approached by other partners, and it will be back to you separately because it's a separate entity on what its plans are for you as a city to develop that site, what it will do with that site to secure student stations. I'll give you a little preview that they have 2008, the ability to open student stations on that site. It's a different matrix. It's a different filter. It was not available to us 2.5 years ago. I'm the first person to say what we did this morning was to free up the city to continue its mission to get seats in East Homestead, and there's no other reason, and you have professionals who voted to make this decision without any compunction because they so thoroughly researched it, so thoroughly investigated it, and so thoroughly sought answers that would have avoided that action. And then when that action became the most beneficial to the community, they did it in a heartbeat. And that's my summary, because it's confusing in a way to hear Board Member Greer speak as though the partnership will be hindered by this action when actually it'll be supported by this action. We don't want the county to get a mixed signal. Legally, the interlocal is terminated. And so legally, the EFBD now is just a unsupported ordinance at Dade County, Miami-Dade County. But we really wanted the city to send a message with the EFBD saying to the county, don't forget Homestead. You know, these impact fees, we want to stay in Homestead. There's lots of actions that can happen positively for you as a community now. You know, I've spent my life working in public service. I've worked for cities and counties, City of Jacksonville, Duval County, worked in the legislature, and I will tell you that the government only exists to fulfill its specific mission. And as soon as we realized this government could not fulfill its mission,
That's right.
this board acted immediately to remove that layer. So that's my summary. You have your chairman here tonight who's appointed by the school board.
Thank you for saying that. We had two members on the EFBD who actually were appointed by school board members, and both of them voted to terminate today.
Yes.
Both of the school board representatives.
Thank you.
Eric, would you like to say a word?
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Smith,
Sure.
you guys terminated the agreement.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's no EFBD effectively right now.
The interlocal, there's an ordinance that only Dade County can repeal,
Right.
but the ordinance is ineffective without the interlocal. The parties to the interlocal can terminate the interlocal. The EFBD did that this morning. You are a party to that interlocal as well. As it was the city, the school board, the county, and the EFBD. Any one of those four could do it.
Any of those parties...
And they did it this morning.
So the deal is off?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the advantage for the city to support this by resolution is to
send a message to the county.
Pressure the county or the school board?
No, the school board, there's no pressure on the school board. Actually, just the opposite. It's the county has thousands of things going on all the time. A hanging thread of an ordinance is going to cause confusion on title and issues related to landowners inside the EFBD. You know, there's a covenant on the land that refers to an EFBD and it refers to an interlocal, which now is no longer there. That's right. There's confusion already with the impact fee allocations that will occur. The ordinance talks one way, but now without the interlocal, it just kind of, theoretically, those impact fees could not stay in Homestead now. We would like that to be redirected outside of the EFBD back here so that you retain those impact fees. And the school board's $34 million was not out of these impact fees. So, you know, to secure that back, it can't come through the EFBD ordinance.
Okay, the school board is responsible for reallocating those funds, or the
just
county?
by default. It's in their East Benefit District. So I guess that's from here to North Miami. It's a long amoeba-like benefit district that those impact fees now fall into.
And who decides that they come here? See, I want to, you know, my only thinking is, and again, if I'm incorrect, just correct me. You know, to go and strike a fight with the school board when there's, whether Ms. Greer's numbers are correct, 44 million, 34 million, 80 million. How do we make sure that those dollars get down here? You say this will help us do that?
This will actually help you do it if you take the advantage of communicating to the county in the same time with this. It's not just a support to dissolve and forget about the partnership. I guess we envisioned it that the county will actually ask for input from the stakeholders from Homestead, and at that time the explanation of why these impact fees are collected, why they stay in Homestead. County levies them, school and collects them. Actually, the city may collect them. The school board uses them, and in the last year and a half, I guess, there's new legislation that allows municipalities and other stakeholders to get more involved in the direction of those impact fees. So we didn't want to bite off more than we could chew tonight, but once the EFBD is out of the way, then that opens up the opportunity to go do that without Mrs. Greer's commitment. I mean, that's a right you have as a city, and Eric is an expert on county impact fee ordinances, so I would defer to him.
I just wanted to kind of get my arms around the necessity for the city to create the resolution when you effectively abolished the EFBD this morning.
That's right. That's just a support role.
We need that. We need that support.
What happens is, Richard, my question would be, if the city takes no action because you have dissolved the EFBD, I take a different twist than you in terms of our leverage with the school board and the county, that if we take no action, it's dissolved anyway.
Yes, sir.
So why take any action? Because you're saying, I mean, the school board ultimately going to make the decision on the impact fees. And from our conversation with Rudy Crew, he made some very specific commitments to Homestead. Very clear to me. And I really don't want to get into a back and forth right now, and that's why I would hesitate. And the city's taking a position as we speak, not this evening. Because as in the meeting, the superintendent said give him a couple of months to crystallize those comments he made at the meeting in terms of ways to bring quality education to Homestead. He talked about the Oasis site. We talked about ninth grade academy. He talked about some agribusiness kind of magnet of some sort. So unless there's some crystal clear reasons why the council should take a position, you've already dissolved it. I think the city being in the middle right now would be the best leverage we have without taking any action right now. But I would need to know from Richard, from a legal point, if we take no action, what impact would it have on the EFBD process?
It's for the county.
I think that
we need
legally, I don't think it has any impact at all, one way or another. I think that the purpose of the resolution, if you decide to pass it, is to communicate the city's position to the county with regard to the EFBD. That's the purpose of the resolution. Not the school board,
the county.
That's the purpose of this.
Mayor, if I could amplify.
Building schools is the school board, and that money is going to Rudy Crew and not to Chairman Barrera. So I came back, and I think all of you got this letter from Rudy Crew. I'm just hesitant, Taylor, on the council taking a position tonight on it. And as we talked around the table, speaking as the mayor of Homestead, not having the authority to make a position, but I'm just hesitant on the city in the middle right now, and being that it's already, the interlocal is over and done with, I think we got a very good opportunity to bring some of those quality programs that the superintendent indicated he was going to do regardless of the EFBD, that he was going to make something happen in Homestead, and I'd like to hold his feet to the fire. I think by joining the EFBD board right now, we'd be sending a wrong message back to him after that good meeting we had last week, Tuesday.
If I could just articulate one perhaps nuance that as a thought for you. The resolution of support kind of starts as saying one way, but perhaps what we meant to word it was to say, now that the interlocal has been terminated by the EFBD, the city to the county and the school board insists that these resources, as promised by School Board Member Greer and Superintendent Crew, be crystallized into an action plan to be invested in Homestead. I'm trying to turn it into a positive without derailing the ambiance that we have, because I'll tell you, the minute it gets off into the world of the county, bless their hearts, it will get lost in oblivion it'll happen, and it will happen, but it'll get lost and we'll lose the bang, the positive spin. And I realize it's a delicate balance, Mayor, but I'm just thinking as an option.
I like the comment. I just think that now the city could take a position that the EFBD board have made a decision to cancel this interlocal. Now the city of Homestead would ask that that the school board and the superintendent continue to fulfill the obligations to the children at Homestead with those initiatives that he talked about at the table.
But we need this step, Mayor, to get to that step.
No, I don't think so. Nothing prevents this council from responding back to the county commission and to the school board a very clear indication of what we want. We want, as Evelyn said, that $34 million or whatever, $44 million, we want the school built. And we want those impact fees redirected back to the city of Homestead. But this is a very delicate situation. And as I stated earlier when Evelyn was here, we did not, you were at the meeting.
Yes,
the goal was not to talk about the obstacles and the barriers and the trials and tribulation that the board had with the school board in this process with EFBD. Where do we go forward? And how do we go forward? And that's the position I think the superintendent have taken very eloquently in this letter. That look, I have some very good ideas on how we can bring quality education to Homestead and continue our commitment. Just give me some time to bring those ideas back to the people of Homestead. So I don't want to send the wrong message by saying, you know, we are one way or the other right now. I really don't see how we benefit the Homestead.
Mayor?
I just think you could amend to say now that by acknowledging that it's terminated, when we go to the county to speak, we're going to say the city, the EFBD, the school board, you know, now that this has been terminated, the significant fact is these resources need to be directed, but we really need you as a council to say, you know, again, that's the most neutral position you could take, but to say, you know, we received this tonight, it's been terminated, and by the way, notice was delivered, we had to deliver notice, we delivered it by hand to you today so that you could acknowledge it. That's what we're asking for clarification.
I don't have a problem with it. I just think that we need to incorporate that language.
Can do that right now.
I'm not.
I'd like the attorneys to take a look at it because I'd like to incorporate a lot that the superintendent talked about in the meeting because I embrace those suggestions, those ideas that he enumerated at the meeting. I thought they were very good ideas, but I don't want to make a decision tonight one way or the other. I just don't see why it's that important that we need to rush this thing through tonight. I don't see it.
Mr. Mayor, Steve Shiver, I'm the Vice Chair of the EFBD Board. The resolution you have before you now, if you amend it as you speak, vote on it as amended, still sends the same message. But Mr. Mayor, I want to say from the board's perspective, you know, we have, and Ms. Bell has been instrumental in making this happen. We have for 2 years, 2.5 years, been back and forth with full knowledge of Miami-Dade County School Board of what we're doing there. And we were just as taken aback once we got through the payment and all the other issues that we had to get the permit done. We were just as taken back, just as flabbergasted, just as shocked as you are now of hearing, wait a minute, we didn't know that there was maybe some remedial work. Or, wait a minute, we still want to be part of it. Mr. Mayor and council members, the folks that you put in place, Ms. Bell, myself, Eric, Taylor, everybody else that's been involved in this process have really put a lot of time into coming to where we are today. And for someone to stand before you and tell you at a private meeting, which they wouldn't let us attend, by the way, and another meeting and stand here that we got $34 million ready to go, sir, if you don't put them and pass a resolution tonight solidifying that money's going to get lost. Taylor just said it's going to be in La La Land.
Steve,
I agree with you 100%.
You just dissolved the EFBD tonight. No one yet have told me the urgency of this council having to pass a resolution tonight. I just think we need time to put a response back to the superintendent and the county, but I don't see a need to urgently pass a resolution tonight. There's no urgency in it now. They just got notifications from you guys that you've dissolved it. Now give the city time to respond. But I don't think we need to respond right behind you guys' decision. I just don't see the urgency of it. There's no urgency tonight to pass a resolution. There's none at all.
Mr. Mayor, you're correct. There's no absolute need for us to do it tonight.
No.
Technically, there's not. Okay? But in the world of politics, in the world of positioning, where one of their staff members said, "I am the goddess," put it on the record. Okay? I believe there needs to be a clear, decisive answer, and a clear, from the city's point of view, of putting on the record that yes, we love the fact that you've created or committed this $34 million in a very positive, proactive manner in which this council has always been. Because if you don't put them and memorialize what they say now, Mr. and Mrs. Council Member, I am telling you from experience as you have had, sir, if it's not on the record now, the record either disappears or you don't get the second chance at bat.
Steve, school board member Greer put on the record the availability of those dollars. Now, in support of her, many of you were here, the vice mayor, we all went up to fight for this EAPD. She was one of our strongest supporters. So I can't say that she's not in support tonight of quality education for the kids in the city of Homestead. I know she's 100% behind us. I have no doubt. Now,
she is.
How we respond to what the EAPD board have done, I just think you need to give the city of Homestead time enough to respond. But I don't think I'm in a position tonight to support an immediate response to the cancellation of the EAPD. You all have done that. So you've taken a position. Now give us time to look at this thing in several ways. One, politically, because Taylor was there. We have the ear of the superintendent. I trust that he's going to follow through in his commitment he made to me, the manager, and Taylor last Tuesday. He came up with some innovative approach to dealing with the student stations in Homestead. And I'm going to hold his feet to the fire, but we need to respond, and I don't want to respond in a way that you guys have dissolved the EFDB. The city is, I don't want to give the impression that the city embraces that immediately. But I want to use this as a leverage to get the dollars and to get those student stations that he committed to us last Tuesday.
And
but
I agree.
We need to do tonight, Steve.
I agree, sir, and you're right. The resolution could be in a way that you don't embrace the dissolution.
That was your decision, you see.
Yeah,
I'm not.
But you don't have to embrace that.
Mayor, can I maybe interject one thing? You want this as support when you go to the BCC, I imagine, and I don't know when you'll get in front of them. We may have some time to do exactly what the mayor's saying, and in time to be in conjunction with what you go before the BCC in resolving that. I don't know if that helps.
You have to go to committee anyway, so I don't think there's a dire need, but the political realities of what we're dealing with, though, it really need to be addressed as quickly as possible. Did you have a question, Mr. Hollinger?
It's been answered.
I want to make a statement. I have, as the education chair of the city of Homestead, tasked with this very, very weighty issue of schools and education in the city. I've taken it very, very seriously. I've met now. Upon election 3.5 years ago, I set out to work very hard in getting the passage of the FBD and worked like a pit bull in getting it done, and we did. I am a bit taken aback, and I don't want to say insulted, but a bit taken aback that after all this time, after 3.5 years and working towards the passage, and then 2.5 years of working with the school system and thinking that we were, together on this, and then saying that, sorry, you're not going to get your dollars. Sorry, we don't think that the impact fees should be allowed to be used for any type of remediation whatsoever. Site work is one thing, remediation is another. To constantly be sitting there month after month after month after month, never missing it. I don't think I've ever missed an EFBD meeting in 2.5 years. I don't think I have. And coming back from a trip, getting home last night at 2 in the morning, so I would be here at 11 a.m. You guys really need to defer to me. And you need to defer to my wisdom and my experience on this. It's not about making one man happy when the EFBD, quite frankly, was completely omitted from any discussion and any conversation. We wanted to have a meeting with Superintendent Crew, and we were denied that. And with all due respect to Board Member Greer, who I really do believe is doing a good job on the south end of the county, working to get schools, and with all due respect, I'm the one that's attended every EFBD meeting. I'm the one that's been downtown, and I am the councilwoman, first as vice mayor and then as councilwoman, who has been fighting and fighting and fighting. And I know when the fight is over. I know how many rounds are in a boxing match? I should ask Oscar de la Hoya. I know when the fight is over. I know when the fight is over. And quite frankly, the fight is over. And in other words, quite frankly, again, I am very taken aback that after spending 2.5 years, and I know, Mayor works downtown and everyone here is busy, but I'm the one that attended the EFBD meetings, me, and as a representative of this city. We finally got attention. We finally got a meeting after 2.5 years with Superintendent Crew, after we voted to terminate the interlocal agreement, after we voted to get a recommendation. Then we got attention. Then we got a letter. And then when we were going to have a meeting, the meeting was canceled. And it was just a private meeting, closed-door meeting, so there's no real record of what was said in that meeting. I'm not pleased about all this. And now we have, you know what, we do have time. I know we have time. But there comes a time when you must defer to that person who you have entrusted with that particular position. And you've entrusted, and I believe I've really done a very good job on protecting the citizens of the city of Homestead in the area of education, protected you guys, in every way possible, as well as benefited the city, as well as working on behalf of the EFBD board. And I sat there. I was in that meeting when we were told, you're not getting $1 for any site remediation. You're not going to get the money. We were called incompetent. I'm not even going to go back there again, but it was not pretty. Yes, that person is gone, but there comes a time when, like I said, the fight is over, the boxing match is done. And to say now that politically, because we had one meeting with Superintendent Crew, by the way, like I said, not one member of the EFBD board was present at that meeting, the people who actually attended the EFBD meetings month after month after month, and we finally get attention, and it's now don't dissolve it, after months and months of writing letters to the superintendent to get attention, writing letters to the school board members to say, please, please release these dollars. We have a $5 million debt. We need these dollars released. Now, sorry, but we decided you can't use these impact fees. You cannot use them for site remediation. We think the developer should pay for that, so we're not going to let you use them. So I don't know what more there is to discuss. And ending this has nothing to do with interfering with a good relationship with Superintendent Crew. Ending this has nothing to do with interfering with the good relationship with Board Member Greer. Ending this just solidifies and says the EFBD has done everything it can humanly possibly do. We recognize that the EFBD has expended its resources, its time, its talents, its money, its dollars. We've expended ourselves, and we have to now cease. And we just are saying we recognize that, and we're supporting that. We still believe that there's a lot to be done with Superintendent Crew. If he stays here, who knows what happens tomorrow in this particular system. But we know that this particular dance is done. And to not defer to me on this is very frustrating to me. I must admit, I'm a lot frustrated right now at the end of a very long council meeting. This is a no-brainer. It's very simple. We can discuss it all we want, but we just need a support from this council. We've done it. We have dissolved the interlocal agreement. But we need a support from this council to take back to the county that we are all on the same page, and it doesn't interfere with the relationship with Superintendent Crew, but it does defer to those of us that have been putting in the time, week after week and month after month, on our own dollar and on our own time, representing the public. Comes a time to say, I defer to you, and that the time is now.
Let me make a few other comments, because to the EFBD board and to Ms. Bell, I have to commend you for the work that you've done. I have no doubt you've done an outstanding job trying to do the right thing and making this EFBD process work. Now, let me tell you my concern about it. In the 18 months, 2 years that the EFBD board been in operation, not once has the chair or any member came before this council and gave us an update and told us what the obstacles, the barriers, the problems. You need the city support, you need the mayor or the vice mayor to... Let me finish. You need us to intervene, to get the attention of the superintendent or someone to listen to the problems that you are having with the EFBD and the school system. That never happened. I got a full update 2 weeks ago from Ms. Bell and UTEL and others. It was the very first time that we had a comprehensive update on what was going on, your challenges and your problems and all the other consternations with the school system. So today, you independently made a decision to terminate the interlocal agreement. You didn't ask for the council advice or input on that. So all I'm saying, give us time now to digest what you have done and let us move forward. I'm not saying I'm not going to support the resolution, but I do want to look at the impact of the city intervening at this point on this issue. There's ramifications. There's ways we could still get the message back to the county commission and to the superintendent without the resolution process. But I think the mayor and the council need time to digest it. I mean, you made a decision tonight, and then you come and say, well, just rubber stamp what we've done without any input from us. You didn't ask us whether it was in the interest of the city to disregard the interlocal agreement, just move forward. Now you want us to embrace it. I mean, and I don't have a problem with it. At the end of the day, I would probably do that, but just don't ram it down my throat tonight, because I'm not going to accept it. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Taylor, you touched on an interesting issue briefly in your initial presentation that caught my attention. The EFBD is created by county ordinance, and that is an overlay district, if you will. It's the mechanism to collect and distribute funding to build school seats. The interlocal agreement is the living, breathing, the operator of that agreement. It's talked in terms of clouding of title of not only the homes within that overlay district, and I guess my question is that until the county revokes the enabling ordinance, is there a cloud on the title to the property that would prevent the sale to, and you talk in terms of a charter school operator?
Right. No, there's the property that I was referring to were the residential lots that I've had a couple of attorneys call and say, we're going to sell a piece of land. On that land there appears to be a future assessment. We've seen this in the press. Will there or will there not be that assessment so we can either value the mortgage payments one way or value them another? That was what I meant by the cloud. The land itself for the school is unclouded. It is owned by the nonprofit. Well, it's clouded by the debt.
Mortgage to do the construction work.
The debt over here. It needs to immediately move forward to solve that problem. And the good news is it's moving forward to do that with partners, I'm told, that will work to happen to be providing school seats. So that's another track that can happen.
And that can move forward regardless of what has happened or what happens tonight.
Right. I mean, I'm told the nonprofit, the direction of the EFBD, there was so much confusion in it, for the past 6 months that the nonprofit was expecting that the EFBD would be the one acquiring the site for its costs, but that's never happened, and it's gone on, and there's a bank loan, and so this clears that up, and it can move forward.
Okay.
My tactical, Mayor, and I absolutely respect your position. I tactically was coming at a different approach with the board of the EFBD, thinking and believing that your leverage with the school board and the county is enhanced with this action, not the other way. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't be here if we thought it was lessened, because we have no reason other than tactically, it seems like that would send a stronger message. In our experience, that seems to be what wins the day. Certainly, we welcome the city manager to be with us as we talk to the county, about next steps, and I think the sky's the limit on getting those resources here for you, sir. And so that's it.
I appreciate that. I really, a lot of people worked very hard to get the overlay district approved, first to the school board and then to the county commission. And there was some discussion, I felt, a couple weeks ago that we need to dispense with this so we can move on, get out from under the debt, and the property can be utilized from schools. And I'm comfortable that that can happen with what has taken place.
Yes, sir.
And like the mayor, I'm really grappling with looking for a really clear and concise articulation of why we really need to do anything at this point. I mean, because I said so doesn't really sell the day for me.
Right.
I'm fairly aware of the high points of the bad history that happened there, at least with the board. But I'm just not, if somebody said it, I'm not able to key in tonight on why the whole thing should go away, why the concept and the ability to implement the concept should go away with such haste.
I will say that the ordinance prohibits the EFBD activities from being charter school without the school board's blessing. And, if we were to wager, we would probably say that they would never give it that blessing based on our initial conversations. And Mayor, you remember when we were there, how we lost the charter option at the gate in order for them to participate. We gave that up. So that is not, as it turns out, a tactical reason for you to vote tonight because the site can continue. However, there is that. I believe you're seeing some movement from the school board that could be adversarial to the city to block, you might see that blocking the development of the site as a charter school, because systematically they just don't like the use of, they don't acknowledge that as a solution for overcrowding. That's just that is not, but just to consolidate, the board this morning...
That can happen either way.
Yes, sir. The board this morning said, we terminate interlocal, and we would ask the city to acknowledge that and support us so that when we go back to the county. So that's the short answer is I'm here as the manager of the board to say they asked for you to do this to support them so that they can leverage this into something good. But I respect the mayor's position.
Thank you, Ms. Vice Mayor.
Yeah. Ask them nothing.
Judy Brostow, I'm one of the directors of the EFBD Homestead Inc. Mayor and members of the council. I was listening to what you said, Mayor, about why we didn't come to you sooner. Not we, but the EFBD board. We have been working hand in hand, we thought, with partnership with the staff of the school board for over 2 years. Personally, I played a very big part in being a cheerleader to have the school opened in 2008. And we had contractors of every magnitude working, many from 7 in the morning until 7 at night, clearing the land, which was the time limit that they could do that in Homestead. With
promises week after week after week and meetings week after week after week that the funds would be released so that we can pay our contractors. We didn't know we had a problem until we finally said that our contractors are going to walk out unless they get paid, and the school board, the staff, said, we're going to give you the money. Over $34 million was part of it. And that same $34 million that Evelyn spoke about, our friend, she and I worked in partnership for a very long time to have this happen, didn't get released. And now it's almost $6 million that we owe people that have been working for all of this time. In the fall of 2005, the school board was aware, based on their testing, that we had work to do. And they told us, go to work. And we did. And we have nothing going on right now. There's no building going on. And we owe this money. And approximately $8,000 a month is accruing. And we have a couple of lawyer letters. And we could have talked to you earlier, but we thought we were working in unison until we had one meeting. And we couldn't wait any longer. And we assumed that the school staff was informing the board and Rudy Crew. And apparently that didn't happen. And so the EFBD had nobody working on the land, and they're still trying to get the schools built.
Excuse me, let me just interrupt you. By the official watch, which is on my wrist, it's exactly 10:30. And so that the council needs to move by affirmative vote of 5 members present to extend the meeting beyond the time limit.
Properly moved as second? Second. Properly moved and second. Any question on
Is
that?
it open-ended, or do we have a time certain?
No, in the event the motion to continue the meeting must provide for a specific time frame which the council will honor for the purpose of continuing the meeting.
2 more items, 15 minutes?
11:15. 11:15.
11:15, okay, so the motion is to extend the meeting to 11:15. It requires all 5.
We need 5 votes, huh?
Yes, we do.
You're sure tempting tonight.
I'll come in the morning, what do you do? I think you got it by 11:15.
You got any Crown Royal back there? I'll stay.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I don't plan to talk until 11:15.
No, you got about a minute and a half.
Thank you. And so something that seemed to be really moving along and being simple turned into being very difficult. And one of the charter school operators saw that the work on the land had stopped, pretty much making a short story shorter, and said, what happened? And this same charter school operator was who we had talked about with 3 years ago, and said, we can build a school by 2008. And it's like, we can? We still can? And they said, yes, we can. If we get started, we can do it. And not only can we do it, but we'll pay the debt. We'll take over the loan and we'll pay the debt. Well, that looked very, very attractive. And we didn't have any other thought in mind except the school gave us the staff gave us our walking papers. They said, in a meeting where there were almost 20 of us, and I think 9 different attorneys, and they said to us, we are not releasing any funds. And so that's the position we're in right now. There's a school site. They met with the planning and zoning department. They are going through a similar structure that's been approved by the staff with the previous idea in mind. And it seems when you talk about the urgency that this is the only way we can possibly get a school going. But we can't wait 90 days. I mean, if we wait 90 days, we miss the 2008 opening. And so that's the urgency. And I appreciate what you said. And it's been a problem for all of us to know what way to go. But we have empty land now with nothing being done. And we've been moving along all of this time. And Kurt, if I may, Kurt's one of the directors. We have been monitoring ever since the inception, and so has the bank, every single invoice and every single bill and all of that to make sure that it was impeccable. So we don't have one problem about anything that's owed. It's justifiably due, and we're at a standstill. And that's really, I think, all that there is to say right now, except we have a site plan ready to go, and people ready to pay, and a school ready to be built. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, let me just say, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'd like to make a motion we defer this for not to exceed 30 days. That doesn't mean it has to go 30 days, but let's give it up to 30 days and see what happens.
I'm just in time to second that motion.
Moved by Mr. Porter, second by Mr. Hodge.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I do have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Question, Mr. Hodge.
I just want to know, in the future of this process, and I understand that you guys are having the opportunity to look at a charter school to take over and build a charter school. What I would need to know, do the city have any rights or say in how many student stations more or less are placed in that particular project?
Sure, that's on the site plan end. Sure.
In regards to the site plan,
in regards to the site plan, yeah, we talk about the amenities or the items that should be placed in the school, how many square feet, the height measurements and all those things, but do we have restriction of how many student stations can be placed at the site?
well, other than the constitutional amendment, which is coming up in regards to student stations, currently I don't believe we have anything in our code, but we would have to look at what's being proposed, which at this point, I don't know if you've gotten anything to make any kind of determination on exactly what they're looking at doing. But no, there's not a limitation at this point.
So if we did charter school, they basically put maximum or as many student stations within that development as they themselves would prefer to have. And then the city couldn't say anything about it other than we like the building, we don't like the trees, we want the park to be, the playground to be bigger.
You can cap it. In your site plan, you can cap the number of student stations. It's like a plat note. That's not going to be a problem, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. We need to move on. We've been doing this a long time. If there's no further discussion, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
One no.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank you very much. We're going to the county. Everything will be in process. It sounds like a site plan will be back before you shortly. So your actions tonight will help you get that $44 million back into the city, or to keep it in the city, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, I have a comment.
Thank you for what you've done thus far and what you're going to continue to do. Good job. Ms. Bell?
Thank you. The comment you made earlier about not being briefed or updated, I constantly, for the last 2.5 years, every time there was the Panther issue and the mitigation issue and the environmental issue, I brought it to this council, and I informed everybody on why it was delayed, what was going on. Whether I did it in my business or I did it every time. I've also done it monthly at the Education Committee meetings. As soon as we had a problem, Kurt was with me. We were downtown together. I can't pick up the phone and call you because obviously of sunshine issues, so I do depend on our manager to keep you informed. As soon as we know it was a done deal, it was within a week that we brought it to council. There was, I kept you abreast every step of the way, so I want you to know that. I kind of was bothered by the fact that you stated that it was like a surprise when I've been informing you all along. And when it was in crisis mode, you found out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. 8A?
Yes. 8.8 is a first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 30 zoning, Article 3 district regulations by establishing Division 24 Business Mixed-Use District, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Move first reading. Move first reading by Councilman Porter, the second by Councilman Hodge. Any questions? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on, item 8.2 is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 30 zoning, Article 3 district regulations by establishing Division 25 Neighborhood Mixed-Use District, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Offer motion.
Offer by Mr. Hodge, second by Mr. Porter. Any comments from council? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 8.3 is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 30 zoning, Article 4 Supplemental District Regulations, Division 1 generally, Section 30-398 Unified Residential Minimum Unit Size Requirements in order to provide for minimum residential unit sizes for the Business Mixed-Use BMU zoning district, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Move first reading, Mayor. Move first reading by Councilman Porter, second by Councilman Hodge. Any comments from council? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Any public comments at this time? We're open for public comments. Any public comments at this time? If not, I'll move on to business from the city manager. Mr. Manager?
Nothing.
Thank you. Councilman Hodge?
Hold it, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. Mr. Vice Mayor?
I'll defer. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Councilman Porter?
No business, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Ms. Roman is gone. Councilwoman Bell?
Well, I just want to say, after missing one meeting, the first meeting I've missed in I don't know how long, it's just so great to be back.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bell. Councilwoman Gone is gone.
Where'd they go?
Just ask for the board reappointment of Human Relations Board. Is there a motion?
I'll move, Mayor.
Moved by Mr. Porter, second by Mr. Hodge. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Want to remind the community that we still have 2 openings in the Historic Preservation Board. We're looking for volunteers on the Historic Preservation Board. And I'm asking for the reappointment of Mr. Larry Deal to the Historic Preservation Board. A motion for approval?
Move, Mayor.
Moved by Mr. Porter, second? Second by Mr. Hodge. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And finally, I'd just like to thank Mr. Hodge for his leadership at the Mayor's Conference in Baton Rouge, Louisiana this past week. He represented the city extremely well, and I just want to thank him for his participation and the work he did while he was out there. Mr. Hodge, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
And that's all I have. Anything else? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. And we had a short agenda.